A memory surfaces, showing a young, sorrowful guard being taken in by a towering figure. Now at 15, he serves the Count family as a servant. In gratitude for their generosity, he secretly hunts monsters using potent magic. He understands this task is crucial for safeguarding the village's residents. After eliminating the monsters, he heads back to the Grand Mansion. Within, Count Tricoli and his guards regard him as worthless. The Count's expression radiates disdain and barely contained fury. The Countess then inquires if the guard grasps the reason behind their disdain. Utterly confused, the guard ponders what he could have possibly done wrong. He confesses to the stern Count that he truly has no idea. His master accuses him of feigning ignorance and having a lowly demeanor. Fuming with anger, he shouts that the guard has been pilfering his funds. The guard's eyes widen, shock washing over him at the accusation. Stunned, he challenges the claim that he stole money from the family. He passionately refutes the allegation, swearing he would never commit such an act. With a dismissive huff, the Countess brushes aside his feeble claims of innocence. She deems his denial of the crime utterly disgraceful and pathetic. She accuses him of fabricating tales about monster slaying to avoid real work. Desperate, the guard insists he hasn't shirked his duties and has proof. He explains that he eliminated several monsters just that very morning. Digging through his coat, he reveals what he claims is solid evidence. In his open hand lies a large curved fang from a slain monster. The Countess's hand envelops his, her face twisting into pure rage. Screaming for him to cease, she violently knocks the fang from his grasp. The guard's eyes widen in disbelief as his evidence is so brutally dismissed. The massive fang clatters uselessly across the grand room's polished floor. The Count immediately bellows that the fang is likely a fake. He warns the guard not to treat him like a complete fool. A deep despair envelops the guard as he realizes they won't trust him. With a heavy heart, he turns away from the unyielding couple. The Count points an authoritative finger, officially banishing the guard. He yells that he has no need for worthless trash and orders him to leave. The air crackles with tension as the two face off, each waiting for the other to make a move. As the guard exits, a door creaks open, revealing a smug young man. The young man, Lotto, remarks that it seems the guard will be leaving today. The guard quietly expresses his gratitude, his demeanor somber and resigned. Lotto exclaims, "It's fantastic news," admitting he has always despised the guard. He boasts that it was worth telling his father he saw the guard stealing. The guard's grim expression reveals his understanding of the betrayal he faces. He knows Sir Trey adores Lotto and would trust his son without question. Lotto declares this is their final encounter and presents a farewell gift. The bewildered guard can only speculate on what his tormentor has in store. A faint magical aura begins to swirl around Lotto's outstretched hand. With a sadistic grin, he unleashes a fierce torrent of fiery magic. A massive fireball hurtles directly toward the unsuspecting guard. The fiery vortex closes in, ready to completely engulf its target. Lotto instructs him to gratefully accept this potent mid-tier magic spell. The guard calmly observes that mid-tier magic is common, and dodging is tricky. With unnerving calm, he decides to simply let it strike him. After the explosion, Lotto laughs victoriously, asking how his magic fared. His laughter fades as realization hits him. Something's definitely off. The guard stands unscathed, puzzled as to why only his attire lies in ruins. He coolly praises Lotto's remarkable skill in wrecking just his uniform. Lotto is utterly speechless, emitting a strangled sound of disbelief. He grumbles that guard's infuriating calmness has always grated on him. Yanking at his collar, he yells, demanding to know why the guard shows no fear. Guard sighs, realizing that a peaceful exit is now out of the question with this brat. Furious, Lotto swings a punch, using guard's tattered lapel for leverage. His face twists into a furious grimace as he tries to land a hit. Guard effortlessly seizes his wrist, a magic circle igniting on his palm. Lotto screams in pain, pleading for him to stop and conceding defeat. With a simple release, Guard relinquishes the boy's now injured wrist. He turns away, stating he'll leave Lotto's pants behind. Lotto grips his aching wrist, cursing in pain and humiliation after losing. He can only ponder the source of Guard's terrifying strength. Guard glances at his ruined clothes, deciding it's time for a change. After changing, he heads toward the mansion's main entrance. His way is blocked by the imposing, silent figure of Count Ray. The Count's face radiates pure cold disdain for the young man. Guard looks up at his former guardian, his expression calm and unreadable. He approaches the Count, bowing his head slightly in a final gesture. The Count observes with arms crossed as the boy readies to speak. Guard mentions there's one last thing he forgot to say. The Count delivers a final blow, forbidding him from residing in his territory. Guard stands still for a moment, absorbing the harsh decree. In a calm, steady tone, he expresses gratitude for everything they did. A solitary figure, Guard walks away from the sprawling estate. He reflects on his predicament, admitting he knows little about this era. His duty to protect the lands kept him isolated from socializing. He pauses, thoughtfully considering the full scope of his current situation. The memory of the Count's furious face serves as a stark reminder. He concludes the Count has marked him, making survival in the domain impossible. He laments being marked by such a troublesome individual. Standing alone in a forest, he contemplates his next move. Suddenly, a piece of paper flutters through the air and strikes him. He pulls the document away from his face, curious about its contents. It's a recruitment poster for the Remillion Magic Academy, complete with a map. He recognizes it as the finest magic academy in the world, located in the capital. He figures the Count would never think to search for him there. With no other options, he decides that taking the exam is a wise choice. A glowing magic circle materializes as he prepares to cast a transition spell. Meanwhile, a mysterious young man observes a similar portal with interest. Guard sprints at full speed, leaping straight into the shimmering magical portal. He emerges on the other side, his body still in forward motion. He stands tall, a fierce determination in his eyes. This battle, it's personal. Guard finds himself in a bustling capital city, taking in its vibrant atmosphere. A nearby man gasps in shock, pointing out that someone just appeared from thin air. A small crowd gathers around Guard, staring in awe and confusion. Unfazed by the attention, he greets the onlookers with a polite good afternoon. The crowd murmurs, speculating if the well-dressed man is a noble. The Guard stands apart, expression unreadable, listening to the crowd's noise. A noble named Lotto is revealed to wield mid-tier magic, impressive for his rank. Commoners gaze in awe, murmuring, likely having never witnessed such magic before. The Guard fears that casting too many spells will draw unwanted attention. A bystander gasps, pointing, which draws more eyes to the well-dressed youth. To avoid complications, the Guard decides to flee from the swelling crowd. As he jogs down a quiet alley, a desperate cry for help pierces the air. His expression hardens, fist clenched. Escape plans vanish in an instant. A thug's silhouette mocks a trapped noblewoman, scoffing that no one will rescue her. He forces the terrified young woman against a cold brick wall, trapping her. Tears well up in her eyes as she begs for help, but he brushes her off. A close-up reveals her tear-streaked face as she whispers for someone to save her. The back of the Guard's head is visible as he watches the dire scene unfold. The thug yanks at her dress's shoulder, exposing her skin with aggression. He licks his lips with a lewd grin, commenting on her cuteness. As she screams in fear, a second thug covers her mouth with a hand. The bald man's face twists into a mask of cruelty as he silences her. Her face reflects pure terror and despair, tears streaming down her cheeks. Suddenly, the Guard intervenes, gripping the thug's wrist, stating he's causing trouble. The woman looks up, her tear-filled eyes widening with surprise and hope. The thug clicks his tongue, annoyed by this unexpected disruption. His partner questions what a seemingly weak noble is doing in the alley. Frustration grows in the main thug as his lecherous plans are thwarted. His annoyance shifts to a smug grin as he notices the Guard's formal attire. He points at the Guard's tailcoat, recognizing him as a fellow noble. He sneers, claiming nobles can't harm commoners, believing the Guard is powerless. His face twists into a confident, malicious smirk, sure of his social edge. He arrogantly offers the Guard a chance to join the fun if he steps aside. The thug seizes the terrified woman again, shouting aggressively at the Guard. Furious, the man demands to know what the Guard thinks he can do. The Guard calmly interrupts with a quiet, simple "hey." He clarifies that his outfit is a butler suit, meaning he can fight fairly. The thug's face pales, sweat forming as his perceived advantage slips away. Consumed by rage, he screams and throws a powerful punch at the Guard. The rescued woman screams a frantic warning for him to watch out. The Guard remains composed, his expression calm and focused amid the chaos. He raises his hand, fingers poised to intercept the incoming strike. A brilliant flash of energy erupts as his fingers make contact with the thug's wrist. The Guard unleashes a glowing aura, enveloping the thug in power. The ball companion watches, utterly baffled by this shocking turn of events. The thug cries out about the intense heat, briefly thinking he's awakened hidden power. His fleeting delusion is replaced by excruciating pain, his face contorting in agony. The air fills with the sound of a powerful magical effect. The guard decides this demonstration suffices, his expression calm and detached. An internal monologue reveals his technique of infusing and withdrawing immense magical power. The thug collapses onto his hands and knees, releasing a long scream of pure agony. The guard reassures the stunned young woman that the man won't die. The woman stares at him, eyes wide with shock, relief, and awe. He suggests they should leave and gently asks if she can walk. She accepts his hand, her voice trembling as she agrees to follow him. A brief pause lingers as their hands connect, symbolizing her salvation. Guard gazes downward, his face a mask as they prepare to exit the shadowy alley. In a vibrant city square later, the woman shares her heartfelt thanks. She bows deeply, expressing her gratitude while he attempts to soothe her. Introducing herself as Yuri, she learns his name is Guard. Yuri excitedly describes how incredible he was, defeating the thug effortlessly. Her admiration shifts to intrigue as she questions his remarkable strength. Guard's composed facade falters, his gaze turning serious and cautious at her inquiry. A shadow crosses his features as he ponders how to respond. As they stroll away, his thoughts drift, hinting at a complicated hidden history. Memories flash in his mind, truths he cannot reveal. He was once a sage. A flashback reveals his former self roaming the world 6 centuries ago, hunting beasts. He ultimately ascended to sagehood, a role meant to uphold the world's balance. Yet he clenches his fist, a deep sense of dissatisfaction evident even then. The prestigious role consumed his time, drowning him in endless paperwork. His true interests, magic research and study, were constantly sidelined by obligations. He chose to forsake it all, opting for reincarnation in a new age. Back in the present, he struggles to fabricate a believable lie for Yuri. Yuri gazes up at Guard, earnestly inquiring again about his strength. Guard feels flustered by her relentless curiosity, unsure how to respond. He dismisses the truth, convinced she wouldn't accept his past as a sage. In a panic, he decides to throw out something random to divert her. With a strained smile, he offers a mundane excuse. He exercises. The words linger awkwardly in the air between them in the stone courtyard. Yuri seems to buy the explanation, while Guard cringes at his own absurdity. Eager to shift the topic, he abruptly mentions applying to the Magic Academy. Yuri quickly responds, declaring her intention to apply for the exam too. She stands before him, her confident tone wavering into uncertainty. She admits her lack of confidence, her eyes cast down in worry. Nervously gripping her dress, she reveals her weakness and minimal magical ability. She confesses her parents pressured her into this against her own desires. Guard offers straightforward advice, suggesting she pursue her true passions. His words hit a nerve, and she shouts that she can't do that. Guard is startled by her sudden emotional outburst, concern etched on his face. Tears well up in her eyes, a single drop splashing onto the cobblestones. Guard's expression softens with worry as he asks if she's all right. Wiping her tears, she begins to share the painful tale of her past. A memory surfaces of her as a child, desperately trying to conjure a fireball. The spell fizzles, producing only a feeble puff of smoke that vanishes instantly. Her father watches with utter disdain, clicking his tongue in irritation. He coldly labels her useless, questioning if she is even his daughter. Her younger self appears stoic, yet hurt by her father's harsh words. He hands her an application for the prestigious Remillion Magic Academy. The document identifies it as the finest magic academy in the world. He forbids her from complaining, the weight of family expectations immense. Her younger self trembles under the burden of such overwhelming pressure. Her father calls her name, his back turned as he ascends a grand staircase. He stands with authority, explaining their family's fortune relies on graduating from Remillion. With a worried look, Yuri contemplates the dire repercussions of failing the exam. Tears streaming down her cheeks, she cries out that failure means being cast out. She tells a worried guard that her family would disown her. Overcome by her emotions, she quickly apologizes and urges him to forget her words. A painful recollection of his own exile flashes in the guard's mind. In her desperate plight, he sees a reflection of his own battles. With determination, he requests Yuri to take his hand. Taken aback by his abrupt order, she reluctantly complies. He gently grasps her hand, his intentions becoming evident. While holding her hand, he recognizes her potential as she questions him. He perceives that her magical ability may be limited, but her potential is vast. Recognizing this hidden potential, he decides to share his own magic. A radiant light surrounds them as he casts a powerful spell of magic transfer. He remembers a previous occasion when he infused a man with magic rather harshly. This time, he vows to channel his magic into Yuri with greater care. The sensation overwhelms her as Yuri gasps, her body quaking with energy. She exclaims that her body feels scorching from the overwhelming power. A brief moment passes as the magical transfer concludes successfully. Yuri gazes at her hands in disbelief, sensing a fundamental transformation. Bathed in a soft glow, she exclaims that she feels power surging within her. She turns to Guard in awe, inquiring about this astonishing new power. Internally, Guard resolves to stick with his usual absurd excuse. He calmly explains that it's merely the result of muscle training. Yuri stares at him, her expression completely unconvinced. Later, in front of Ramilia Magic Academy, she sincerely thanks him. Guard raises his own application, confirming his decision to enroll as well. As they approach the school, Yuri admits her nerves about tomorrow's exam. He acknowledges her choice to apply, showing his support. She affirms her decision, now feeling she might actually have a chance. Turning to him, she shares the source of her newfound confidence. With a bright smile, she attributes her muscle power to him. Guard smiles softly, recognizing that it's still a bit daunting for her. He reassures her that it's a positive thing, as fear is meant to be faced. He commends her for attempting to conquer that fear, calling it admirable. His heartfelt words make her heart race in surprise. Flustered by his praise, she insists that such grand words don't fit her. With renewed determination, she vows to give her all, and he agrees. Together, they commit to doing their best in the upcoming challenging exam. In a grand hall, an announcer demands the attention of the gathered examinees. Guard stands confidently among the crowd, flanked by other hopeful applicants. Yuri looks around anxiously, surrounded by a sea of eager candidates. Other examiners in the crowd exchange glances of anticipation and excitement. The announcer raises 3 fingers, stating there will be 3 separate tests. The first test evaluates magical capacity with a minimum score required. Next comes a practical test where students must showcase their unique magic. The final challenge is a one-on-one battle in a magic tournament. He clarifies that failing any test results in immediate disqualification. With a serious expression, he concludes that only the top 16 will advance. Yuri contemplates the vast number of examinees competing for so few spots. Guard and his fellow applicants listen closely, grasping the high stakes. An exterior shot reveals Ramillion as a prestigious and elite academy. The announcer adds an incentive, promising scholarships for exceptional performances. The audience buzzes with excitement at the chance for a prestigious scholarship. This scholarship guarantees complete support for any chosen career. The guard's eyes widen, clearly intrigued by the enticing offer. The announcer carries on, ready to clarify something crucial. He highlights that both commoners and nobles are part of the participants. He asserts that social class is irrelevant. Only skill will be evaluated. The guard grins, recognizing this rule is essential for a fair duel. Yuri exhales in relief, pleased she won't face any disadvantages. An arrogant noble scoffs, questioning the presence of commoners. With the rules set, the announcer kicks off the day's first test. He directs the large crowd to their assigned areas. The guard raises a small card indicating his assignment for the initial test. He scans the card, discovering he's in the magic experimental chamber. Yuri rushes over, excitedly calling out his name to catch his attention. She joyfully reveals they're in the same spot and decides to stick together. The guard feels overwhelmed by the throng, anxious about getting lost. Yuri extends her hand, determined to keep them together in the crowd. She takes his hand, surprising him as they navigate through the masses. The guard is briefly taken aback by the unexpected touch. He glances at their clasped hands, slightly embarrassed by the gesture. With a faint blush, she clarifies it's just to avoid getting separated. After a brief pause, the guard agrees, and they move forward. Hand in hand, they weave through the dense crowd of candidates. They reach a door labeled as the Magic Experimental Room. An arrogant noble immediately points at the guard, ridiculing him as a servant. He mocks the guard's butler attire, questioning if he's there to take orders. The noble confronts the guard and his friend aggressively in the testing area. His face twists with fury at the guard's calm and steady demeanor. He seizes the guard's collar, demanding to know why a commoner ignores him. The guard remains unflustered, offering some straightforward advice. He tells the noble to concentrate on the test, not on him. The other examiners observed the altercation with varying levels of interest. The noble clicks his tongue in annoyance, letting go of the guard's collar. The guard coolly straightens his suit, determined to ace the test. Yuri asks if he's all right, and he reassures her they should line up. The arrogant noble steps up for his turn, inquiring about the test procedure. An examiner presents a hefty black book, instructing him to infuse it with magic. The noble eagerly accepts the book, ready to flaunt his abilities. With a grunt, he channels his energy, causing the book to glow. His face reflects intense focus as he pours his magic into it. The book suddenly bursts open, its pages flipping on their own. The pages whirl rapidly, a clear sign of significant magical power. The flipping eventually slows, signaling the end of the test. The examiner points to the results, confirming his scores exceed the target. Declaring him a pass, the examiner congratulates the victorious noble. The guard observes the process closely, grasping the test's mechanics. An explanation clarifies that the book's pages turn according to magical capacity. Standing with his friends, a young man named Guard contemplates quietly. He gazes upward, marveling at how convenient the modern world has become. He gazes upward, astonished by the conveniences of the contemporary world. A flashback hits him, recalling a time when a cloaked figure evaluated magic as a profession. He realizes that a basic magical device can instantly gauge one's potential. His moment of introspection is interrupted by a hand landing on his shoulder. An arrogant noble inquires if Guard saw his impressive performance. Guard's face shifts to annoyance as he sizes up the noble. He mentally compares the noble to Lotto, deciding to steer clear of him. The noble pushes him forward, urging him to humiliate himself like a peasant. Approaching the examiner's table, Guard readies himself for his turn. He coolly adjusts his white glove, sharpening his focus for the assessment. An examiner calls him up, disdainfully noting his commoner status. A bespectacled second examiner condescendingly predicts his failure, but permits him to proceed. Guard keeps a composed, resolute expression unaffected by the mockery. He accepts the ornate tome, acknowledging the examiner's guidance. With both hands on the book, he begins to channel his vast power. The pages of the book start flipping at an astonishing speed. They become a solid spinning blur from the sheer force of his magic. The examiner thinks in shock, having never witnessed such rapid flipping. His jaw drops in disbelief at the unprecedented display. Guard observes the book in his hands as it begins to behave oddly. He emits a quiet sound of surprise at the intense outcome. Suddenly, the magical book bursts into flames in his grasp. His eyes reflect the flames as he calmly notes the book is ablaze. The examiner stifles a horrified scream, his glasses cracking. The other examiners in the crowd stare, stunned and in disbelief. The arrogant noble's expression morphs into one of comical terror. Guard places the charred remains of the book back on the table. The book hisses out, leaving the examiner speechless and wide-eyed. With a bead of sweat, Guard cautiously inquires about his test results. He leans over the table, awaiting the stunned examiner's verdict. The examiner concludes that his capacity far exceeds the target score. He announces that Guard passes, much to the dismay of the rival nobles. A small winged creature on his shoulder emits a victorious cry. Meanwhile, Yuri is taken aback as her own book also ignites. She places her smoldering book back on the table with a final sizzle. She voices her concern about the cost of the books she just ruined. A caption reveals that both Guard and Yuri have successfully passed the first test. A blushing Yuri shares her happiness with Guard, thrilled they both succeeded. He smiles warmly, expressing his joy for her achievement as well. Together, they cheer, celebrating their success in passing the test. The furious noble confronts Guard, demanding to know what's happening. Guard calmly asks if the noble has anything else to say. The noble's face twists with fury, sweat streaming down his brow. He storms off, cursing and shouting that Guard was merely lucky. Yuri glances at her own hand, pondering her unexpected result. She remembers how her book burned just like Guard's, feeling she should have failed. As she walks away, a realization about her power's source dawns on her. She clenches a glowing fist, declaring it must be the power of muscle. Guard, drawn comically, deadpans that yes, it was indeed the power of muscle. With the day's test concluded, he asks Yuri if she can make it home alone. She waves goodbye, promising to see him tomorrow. Just as he's about to depart, something in the distance grabs his attention. A girl with pigtails lies on the ground, panting heavily from fatigue. A guard and another student watch her struggle to regain her breath. Panic washes over his face as he lets out a furious yell. His eyes bulge in a hilariously exaggerated expression of fear. He lunges forward to catch her as she stumbles and falls. Her expression is one of shock as he accidentally breaks her phone. The guard's face reflects her surprise just before the collision. They end up in a tangled mess on the ground while others pass by. Propped up on his elbow, he asks if she's okay, concern in his voice. She sits up, rubbing her head and apologizing for the accident. Standing, she glances at a sign indicating the testing area. Her mood shifts as she leans over him, shouting to grab his attention. She points emphatically, asking if this is the magic testing room. The guard, still on the ground, confirms she's in the right spot. Her aggressive demeanor fades, replaced by a bright, relieved smile. As he starts to rise, she thanks him profusely. She introduces herself as Sasha, wanting to share her name for future encounters. He responds in kind, introducing himself as she turns to walk away. He thinks about her vibrant spirit, feeling her energy lift his own. Inspired by their meeting, he resolves to give his all tomorrow. The scene freezes, building anticipation for the next day's events. The next day dawns at the Grand Academy. As guard strolls, a familiar loud voice calls out to him. Sasha rushes over, cheerfully greeting him and noting their reunion. She asks if he'd like to take the test together, and he eagerly agrees. Suddenly, Yuri appears before them, her cheeks puffed in a fierce pout. Guard is startled by Sasha's intense gaze at Yuri's sudden presence. Yuri stands firm, blocking their way with a confrontational posture. She glares at Sasha, demanding to know who she is and why she's with Guard. Sasha, equally confused, turns to Guard, asking about this new girl. Flustered, Guard begins to introduce Yuri to Sasha. He tells Yuri that Sasha is, he assumes, a friend. At the mention of friend, Yuri's eyes widen, sparkling with delight. She lunges forward, gripping both of Guard's hands tightly. Ecstatic, she exclaims how thrilled she is, admitting she's never had friends. Guard is taken aback by her emotional outburst while Sasha observes. Sasha leans in with a mischievous grin, whispering that Yuri has a crush on him. Guard glances between the two girls, a contemplative look on his face. He quietly wonders if Sasha's insight holds any truth. An examiner announces the commencement of the second test. He explains it's a practical test to showcase their strongest magic. The gathered examinees are instructed to line up and begin. Yuri encourages Sasha to give it her all, and Guard suggests they all pass together. He smiles, pleased that his two new friends seem to be getting along. Guard shifts his focus to the other examiners in the lineup. He wonders aloud what kind of magic the other students will demonstrate. His eye zooms in, focused and analytical as he observes. As Guard watches the exam, two students showcase their abilities, one creating a defensive barrier. Another examinee stands before a long-haired girl, conjuring a swirling vortex of water magic. A resolute young girl releases a chaotic surge of raw magical force. Guard observes the spectacle, a bead of sweat trickling down his brow, unimpressed. He internally notes that every participant is relying solely on mediocre magic. Pondering, he finds it odd for the top magic academy in the world. He anticipated students here would wield high-tier spells like the transition incantation. His quiet contemplation is cut short when an examiner announces it's his turn. The blonde examiner expresses his patronizing surprise that a commoner passed the initial test. Onlookers scoff, but one remembers Guard burning the book, hinting at his potential. With a bored yawn, the examiner tells him he can start his demonstration whenever. Guard adjusts his gloves, determined not to hold back despite the attention it may attract. His eyes shine with determination as he opts for a spell beyond high-tier magic. He raises his arms skyward, channeling an immense surge of energy. A vast, intricate magic circle begins to form above his outstretched hands. Sasha, his friend, watches from the crowd, her jaw dropped in astonishment. From her viewpoint, Guard's commanding pose is framed by the glowing complex sigil. His face reflects intense focus as he gathers his extraordinary magic. He unleashes hellfire, a massive column of energy erupting from the ground. The explosion scorches the earth, leaving him at the center of a smoldering pit. Sasha firmly believes his overwhelming display should guarantee his success. Guard, however, appears slightly bewildered, arms still raised from the spell. He notices the blonde examiner before him, utterly speechless from the spectacle. A moment of realization crosses Guard's face as he comprehends the examiner's shock. Misreading the silence, Guard worries aloud that his display fell short. Convinced he needs to do more, he tells himself it's still insufficient. With a swift, decisive gesture, he snaps his fingers to cast another spell. He unleashes Groundbreak, fracturing the earth into a massive cross-shaped rift. The other examiners are left scattered across the shattered, perilous terrain. The examiner continues to stare, his silence now one of utter disbelief. Guard's anxiety escalates as he wonders if even this remarkable feat was inadequate. Choosing caution, he kneels to perform one final definitive demonstration. His face shows intense concentration as he prepares for his next spell. An elaborate magic circle appears on the ground beneath his outstretched hand. He invokes Life Gift, enveloping himself and his companions in a warm, gentle glow. His eyes widen with focus as he channels his creative energy into the barren soil. His friends shout in alarm, believing they feel the tremors of an earthquake. The ground shakes and fractures, not in destruction, but with the force of new life. The scarred earth begins to quiver as his potent magic takes root. Where his hand rests, delicate green shoots start to break through the lifeless ground. This new growth spreads rapidly, a vibrant, shimmering wave of green. Beautiful flowers bloom instantly, transforming the scarred land into a lush meadow. A small white rabbit, conjured from magic, twitches its nose in curiosity. His companions rush toward him, awestruck by the perfect oasis he has created. From a high vantage point, the small circle of life starkly contrasts the courtyard. This life gift is an advanced, top-tier magic that conjures life from nothing. Guard feels assured that this final display should surely secure his success. The onlookers in the examiner's gaze wear expressions of stunned reverence. Their shock quickly shifts to wild, fang-toothed excitement and joy. The crowd erupts into a frenzy, shouting about how incredible the mysterious guy is. The humbled examiner stammers, struggling to form a coherent response. Guard adjusts his tie as the examiner, now seated on the ground, declares he passes. His gaze shifts to another examinee, struggling through her own assessment. Yuri lies on the ground, defeated, extending a hand in hopelessness. She glances up, her expression a blend of desperation and deep insecurity. The guard softly utters her name, his face radiating quiet encouragement. A single tear of frustration rolls down her cheek as memories of past failures flood back. A painful memory resurfaces, her father's cruel words calling her useless and a disappointment. Fear grips her, yet a powerful new resolve begins to take root inside her. She realizes that Guard's astonishing display has sparked her courage to attempt. With renewed determination, she stands tall, vowing to take on the challenge. She releases a massive fireball, a blazing meteor that lights up the sky. Her eyes widen with concentration as she channels all her energy into the spell. A fellow female examiner watches in disbelief at the extraordinary spectacle. Guard observes her performance, a small, impressed smile creeping onto his face. The examiner expresses surprise at the overwhelming power from such a low-tier spell. A radiant smile of pure joy blossoms on Yuri's face as he declares her a success. She turns to Guard, thanking him profusely and bowing deeply in appreciation. He returns her gratitude with a warm smile, telling her she's quite amazing herself. Guard appears puzzled, questioning why a noble hasn't witnessed such magic before. Sasha insists that no one has ever seen that level of incredible power. Rubbing his chin, Guard reevaluates his views on modern nobles' magical prowess. He speculates that magical technology might have declined since his days as a sage. Sasha stands utterly speechless, taken aback by his cryptic, insightful remark. He recalls the examiner's stunned silence, the memory accentuated by a rain-like effect. He concludes with a sigh that the examiner was simply left in shock. Adjusting his tie, he reflects on his performance while friends stand nearby. Gazing at the academy building, he admits he might have gone a bit overboard. A loud explosion from another testing area signals that something new is happening. A female examiner praises another student for a job well done. The arrogant Noble Lotto laughs heartily, claiming his own test was a breeze. He stands tall, internally lauding his own first-class magical skills. He feels assured that his power is impressive, even at the world's top academy. His thoughts darken as he recalls the servant guard's disdainful sneer. He twists Guard's earlier compliment in his mind, perceiving it as mockery. His face twists in rage, furious that a mere commoner would dare insult him. As he walks away, he vows to hold nothing back next time he encounters Guard. A menacing grin spreads across his face as he promises to utterly crush him. Oblivious to the hostility, Guard chats with his friends, all pleased they passed. An official congratulates the successful examinees for passing the second test. He announces that without delay, the next phase of the exam will commence. Guard and Sasha watch intently as the third test is revealed. The examiner explains that the final challenge will be a tournament battle. He clarifies that only the last 16 contestants will earn the right to advance. Guard coolly assesses that he only needs to win 3 matches for a guaranteed spot. The examiner snaps his fingers and magical tournament brackets start to form. He instructs the contestants to proceed to their designated arenas for the early rounds. Guard's eyes widen with quiet relief as he studies his bracket. He notes that he won't face Yuri and Sasha until the top 16. Sasha pumps her fist, urging everyone to give their best and pass together. A pair of polished shoes takes a firm, decisive step forward. An official announces the commencement of the first round before a grand audience. His haughty rival mocks him, questioning why a mere commoner remains. The dark-haired youth holds a steady, composed gaze, brushing off the jabs. Fuming at the silence, the noble swears to show the peasant his place. The official outlines the rules, stating that victory is achieved through surrender or incapacitation. Facing off, the 2 fighters await the official's signal to commence. As the match kicks off, the youth unleashes a fierce water blast spell. A massive surge of water propels the noble backward. He groans in agony, utterly defeated by that one strike. The victor stands over his soaked and fallen opponent, unyielding. On the ground, the vanquished noble lies unconscious, twitching slightly. An elderly spectator with a long white beard gazes at the swift victory in amazement. Other spectators, including another noble, react with shock and admiration. The official mistakenly announces the winner using the loser's name, Garzan. The victor quietly ponders if he has gone too far once more. As he exits the arena, a spiky-haired youth observes from a doorway. The observer's face is obscured, but a flicker of recognition flashes in his eyes. The guard glances back slightly as he walks away from his victory. The spiky-haired youth keeps his intense gaze fixed on the departing guard. He clenches his fist, reflecting on how Guard dared to infiltrate this place. Lotto, the guard's former master, grins wickedly, eager for a thrilling confrontation. The Grand Academy looms large as the tournament progresses. A long-haired girl watches in horror as a wall shatters during a match. The horned girl revels in her victory, bursting with unrestrained joy. Lotto cruelly pins down his defeated foe, wearing a mocking smirk. In stark contrast, the guard stands composed over his own fallen opponent. The tournament bracket shows both fighters advancing steadily through the rounds. Time drags on beneath a cloudy sky, signaling the next round's arrival. An official announces the 3rd round as Lotto approaches the guard with a sneer. Guard covers his face, lamenting the worst-case scenario of facing Lotto. Lotto mockingly feigns surprise at seeing the clueless guard here. He reminds Guard that this is the premier magic academy in the world. Leaning in, he snarls for the trash to get lost. Lotto suddenly recalls Guard's name, a malicious idea beginning to take shape. Guard's expression hardens as he realizes Lotto plans to defame him. With a twisted grin, Lotto vows to expose just how useless Guard truly is. He dramatically addresses the crowd, labeling Guard a foolish nuisance of a commoner. Slipping an arm around Guard, he begins his public denouncement. He reveals that Guard was a worthless servant they had to expel. Lotto continues his fabrications, accusing Guard of neglecting duties and even stealing. Guard stands silently beside him, enduring the public humiliation. A noble in the crowd believes Guard only advanced due to pity. An old man vows to show no mercy against such filth. The noble takes it upon himself to crush Guard in the tournament. Lotto declares his intention to expel Guard from the academy as well. Guard's face is shrouded in shadow, his resolve strengthening under the verbal assault. Lotto's expression is a mask of pure, unfiltered, triumphant hatred. The other contestants observe the tense standoff with a mix of reactions. Garden interrupts the official, calmly requesting a moment before they proceed. He warns Lotto to keep his distance, unable to guarantee his own safety. The official, sensing the rising tension, sweats nervously before starting the match. He instructs the fighters to take their positions. As the match kicks off, Lotto casts a fierce fireball spell. The enormous fire sphere hurtles through the arena, aimed straight at the guard. Lotto believes he can defeat his rival with one powerful blow. The guard remains completely still, bracing for the impending impact of the spell. He tightens his gloved fist, a peculiar energy radiating from it. With his fist clenched, the fierce fire spell simply disappears. Lotto stares in shock, his attack rendered utterly ineffective. His self-assurance crumbles, leaving him stuttering in disbelief. He wonders how the guard could dismantle his magic with just a hand. A spectator in the crowd gapes at the unbelievable feat. Lotto's astonishment morphs into fury as he demands to know the guard's secret. The guard casually brushes off the lingering magical energy from his gloves. He addresses Lotto by name, his tone icy and unwavering. Lotto's eyes widen in sheer terror, mirroring the guard's ominous figure. A female spectator shrieks as the battle erupts into chaotic explosions. Lotto roars in fury, launching a flurry of destructive magical orbs. A sadistic, sweaty grin spreads across Lotto's face as he attacks. Guard coolly asks if his opponent ever learns from his blunders. He propels himself forward, a blur of motion and radiant energy. A brilliant horizontal slash of energy cleaves through the entire arena. Guard's arm extends in a follow-through, his gaze fixed on Lotto. The energy from his strike carves a glowing mark into the stone floor. Lotto stumbles back, his footing faltering, his arm dissolving into light. He grips his injured arm, cursing in pain and disbelief. His confidence shattered, he desperately begs the guard to yield. He proposes to reinstate the guard as a servant in his family's estate. Guard listens to the frantic plea, his expression unreadable. He acknowledges the offer is decent, his tone emotionless. With steadfast determination, he flatly declines, readying another spell. Lotto's eyes widen in sheer dread at the guard's rejection. Guard unleashes a massive Farragaball, a vortex of destructive force. The colossal fire sphere roars toward the terrified Lotto. Lotto wonders how the guard's magic can differ so drastically from his. In a panic, he realizes he must activate his defensive magic. He fumbles to conjure a protective barrier, his face twisted in fear. His defensive magic begins to crack even before the collision. He screams in utter horror as the overwhelming inferno approaches. The entire hall is engulfed in a blinding white explosion. Chunks of stone are torn from the walls and floor by the blast. Lotto is violently hurled backward, crashing into a thick stone pillar. His body is battered and bruised, pinned against the crumbling wall. Guard looms over his fallen foe as an official approaches the scene. Lotto lies motionless on the ground amidst the wreckage. The official stands momentarily speechless, absorbing the scene of devastation. He finally announces the guard as the victor, reflecting on teaching Lotto a lesson. Lotto clenches his fist, weeping in humiliation over his defeat. The Grand Academy building towers under a clear blue sky. A thin decorative border signifies a shift in the narrative. Feudal Lord Trey's eyes widen with a dawning, stressful realization. He recalls Guard's desperate pleas, claiming he truly vanquished the monsters. Peering out the window, the Lord wonders if God was being honest. The monster-ridden landscape confirms his deepest fears. He links the sudden surge of monsters to Guard's expulsion. Fury and regret gnaw at him. He vows to bring Guard back. At the academy, Guard cautiously approaches an official post-match. He gestures to the tournament bracket, inquiring if he passed. The official affirms his win, and Guard visibly relaxes. As the official explains the ongoing matches, Lotto lies defeated nearby. The mention of scholarships for top performers instantly grabs Guard's focus. A graphic shows that scholarship recipients will receive research support from the academy. Guard clenches his fist, determined to secure the scholarship for his research. In an official announcement, the top 16 will now convene in one place. A grand door creaks open as Guard steps into the next area. He walks through the corridor, hoping to find his friends Yuri and Sasha. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him from behind. An elderly man with a long beard lunges forward with surprising agility. He forcefully seizes Guard by the collar, throwing him off balance. Guard's eyes widen in shock at the unexpected attack. He jolts, realizing he narrowly avoided a direct hit. Despite the aggression, he calmly inquires what the man wants. The old man firmly states that Guard's progress ends here. Confusion washes over Guard's face. He tells the old man he doesn't grasp his meaning. The man clarifies that it would be an issue for a commoner to earn a scholarship. Guard's expression hardens as he absorbs the blatant bias. The man cites the Academy's esteemed reputation as his reasoning. He delivers his ruling. Guard will be the lowest-ranked student. Guard looks down, his face shadowed by quiet disappointment. He begins to respectfully challenge the man's arbitrary ruling. The old man slams his staff down, exuding an intimidating presence. Guard is visibly taken aback by the sudden surge of power. The man reveals himself as the headmaster and commands Guard to comply. A bead of sweat trickles down Guard's brow as he processes the order. He bows his head slightly, defeated by the corrupt authority. Meanwhile, Sasha frets over Guard's absence as Yuri greets her. The magnificent Magic Academy is showcased on the first day of school. Sasha calls out to Yuri, trying to temper her friend's enthusiasm. Yuri playfully chides Sasha for being overly excited so soon. Sasha admits she can't shake her worries about Guard. She expresses her concern, uncertain if Guard passed the exam. Guard appears, cheerfully congratulating his friends for making it. Yuri and Sasha stare at him, stunned and relieved to see him. Overwhelmed with emotion, Sasha rushes forward and hugs Guard tightly. Guard is completely taken aback by the sudden embrace. Sasha whispers with relief that she's glad he passed as well. A bewildered Guard asks what's going on as Yuri smiles knowingly. Yuri starts to explain just how worried Sasha was about him. She reminds Guard that he never showed up for the final scholarship match. Yuri dramatically reenacts Sasha's frantic search and despair for Guard. Sasha feels flustered, her friends teasing leaving her embarrassed. A Guard dismisses a passing comment from another student. Yuri boldly inquires why the Guard skipped the final test. The Guard remains silent, unsure how to respond to the direct question. A flash of the headmaster's face keeps him from speaking. He offers a vague excuse, hinting that many things occur. Quickly, he diverts the conversation to their differing uniforms. A chart illustrates the ranks: yellow for scholarship, white for general, red for Lois. Yuri accurately infers that the Guard's rank stems from skipping the test. The girls affirm that their understanding of the situation is spot on. Sasha beams with pride, declaring her status as a scholarship student. The Guard jokingly attributes her success to the strength he provided. Yuri genuinely congratulates her, crediting her hard work. As Guards shake Sasha's hand, another student glares with disdain. The bespectacled student wonders what the other boy is doing. He can't believe a low-ranked student is acting so nonchalantly. Jealousy consumes him, branding the Guard a failure. Finding the scene irritating, he feels his motivation slipping away. Suddenly, a wicked idea ignites in the student's mind. He eyes the textbooks in the Guard's desk with a malicious grin. The school bell rings, marking the start of the first class. The classroom door opens with a sharp, distinct sound. A young woman introduces herself as Ilya, a researcher of magic. She informs the class that she will be their new homeroom teacher. Sasha remarks on how adorable she finds their new instructor. In contrast, the Guard's demeanor turns serious and cautious. He realizes she serves under the biased headmaster. He resolves to tread carefully, avoiding unwanted attention. Ellie instructs everyone to pull out their textbooks. Guard peers into his desk, puzzled to find it completely bare. He searches frantically, but his books are nowhere in sight. Sasha notices his dilemma and asks what's wrong. Guard glances back at the other student. The bespectacled boy smirks smugly from his desk. He digs through his own desk, wearing a knowing grin. With a thud, he drops 2 large stacks of books onto his table. Guard realizes what transpired, though the reason eludes him. He concludes that the other student must have taken his textbooks. Feeling he has no other option, he turns to Yuri for assistance. He politely requests to borrow her textbooks for a moment. Yuri readily agrees, handing over her entire stack of books. The bully sneers, questioning what the failure hopes to accomplish. The teacher announces she will check their books one by one. Guard decides to seize this chance for his own benefit. He places his hand on the stack of borrowed books. Returning to his desk, he prepares for his next move. His expression shifts to one of intense concentration. He slams his hand down, casting a copy spell to duplicate the books. With a powerful strike, Guard casts a spell, creating perfect magical duplicates of the textbooks. Calmly, he hands back the original stack to a stunned Yuri, expressing his gratitude for the loan. The bully stares, utterly shocked, as he realizes the advanced magic just displayed. While Aaliyah commends his abilities, Sasha questions how a supposed failure wields such might. Sasha faces the Guard, her shocked expression demanding to uncover his true identity. The teacher approaches the bully's desk, pointedly questioning why he has 2 sets of books. Caught in his deception, the bully starts to sweat profusely, panic etched on his face. He stutters nervously, unable to concoct a believable excuse for the extra textbooks. Guard jumps in, spinning a tale that he simply received an extra set by accident. Elia holds a book, silently pondering his explanation with a knowing, contemplative look. As Guard flips open a textbook, Elia walks away, leaving the silent bully at his desk. A close-up of Alea's eye shows she has seen right through Guard's flimsy excuse. From outside the classroom window, she addresses the students after checking their textbooks. With a wide, almost manic grin, she declares that a test is about to commence. The entire class, including Garden and his friends, gasps in unison, shocked. One student remarks that such an unexpected test is typical of Remillion Academy. Alea tells them to stow their books away as Sasha slumps over her desk, defeated. Guard feels a flicker of anxiety, uncertain if his knowledge of this era is enough. Standing at the front, the teacher explains that the test will cover 3 subjects. She sets a large hourglass on her desk, its sand beginning to flow immediately. After asking if they are prepared, she snaps her fingers, signaling the start of the exam. The hourglass rests on the desk, its falling sand marking the start of the time test. Yuri writes with fierce concentration, her quills scratching diligently across the paper. Sasha grapples with the questions, muttering to herself in deep concentration. From her desk, Aaliyah watches the entire class as they diligently tackle the test. Guard writes with a calm demeanor, easily tackling the questions presented. Despite his composure, a single bead of sweat betrays the pressure he feels. With her head resting on her arms, Aaliyah observes the students with a sly smile. The bright sky outside the window signals the passage of time during the exam. As the last grain of sand falls, Aaliyah cheerfully announces that time is up. She dismisses the class for the day, informing them that results will be ready tomorrow. While other students begin to leave, Guard remains seated at his desk, calm. He sits with his back to the viewer, the classroom now mostly empty around him. With a confident grin, he reflects that the entire test was surprisingly easy. He notes that the grammar and formulas were identical to those from 6 centuries ago. He also realizes that the magic science questions were merely intermediate for his time. Yuri approaches him to discuss the test, and he casually predicts perfect scores for all. Sasha rushes over in frustration, insisting that the problems were actually quite tough. Yuri agrees with her, admitting she could only solve a few of the questions. Sasha then asks Guard if he also found it difficult, assuming it was a universal struggle. Realizing his mistake, Guard quickly pretends to worry, claiming he's now anxious about his score. He then confesses that the questions were too easy for him, leaving both girls speechless. Slumped in his chair, Guard acknowledges to himself that he has made a significant error. He hopes he hasn't attracted unwanted attention, unaware of Aaliyah grading papers with a smile. After his first day, Guard reflects that Remillion Magic Academy is a boarding institution. He feels thrilled, believing he can finally explore magic in the best environment of the era. An academy staff member directs him to his dorm, and he thanks them politely. His excitement fades as he finds himself in front of a run-down ramshackle shed. A close-up reveals his wide, stunned eyes, his high hopes completely dashed. He cautiously announces his presence as he pushes open the rickety, unstable door. From the darkness within, a senior student greets him with a deadpan, unenthusiastic welcome. The interior is a filthy, debris-strewn mess, the dorm for the lowest-ranked students. Even in this filth, Guard pragmatically observes it's still preferable to sleeping outdoors. He points at a heap of filthy straw, questioning if that's where he's supposed to sleep. His upperclassman confirms that the sorry heap of straw is indeed meant to be his bed. The senior then decides to share some insights about their bleak circumstances. She cautions him that the lowest-ranked students endure relentless academy-sanctioned bias. Guard absorbs this grim truth, the faces of his aggressors haunting his thoughts. He realizes that, much like commoners to nobles, he's now a target of prejudice. His new dorm mates bemoan their plight, wishing for the school to blow up so they can leave. An idea starts to take shape in Guard's mind as he observes his despondent seniors. He strokes his chin thoughtfully, scrutinizing the rundown building. A subtle, confident grin spreads across his face as he hatches his plan. Catching their attention, he strides over to his seniors, who are seated in the muck. With a bright gesture, he requests their approval to spruce up the dorm a bit. Puzzled, but with nothing to lose, the 2 seniors consent to his unusual proposal. Guard then politely inquires if they could wait for him just outside the shed. The sky shifts, indicating a brief passage of time as they wait outside. The seniors ponder what he could possibly hope to improve in such a wreck. The male senior starts to fantasize about the kind of dorm a typical student enjoys. He envisions students having their own private rooms in a tidy, well-maintained corridor. His daydream includes a conducive study space complete with a desk and chair. He imagines a student joyfully collapsing onto a soft, plush bed. The daydream continues with the lavish thought of a spacious shared bath. He pictures several girls unwinding in a steaming bath available at all hours. Back in reality, the 2 seniors stand silently, their fantasy a stark contrast. They gaze at the shed, lamenting the cruelty of their actual circumstances. Inside, Guard's expression hardens as he declares it's time to get started. He unleashes a potent spell, sending debris swirling in a magical whirlwind. He frets about attracting too much unwanted attention from the academy with his magic. He resolves to concentrate solely on revamping the interior of the shed. Outside, the seniors jump at the loud, violent banging sounds echoing from within. The entire structure quakes violently as the magical renovation rages on. Suddenly, the noise ceases, leaving the two seniors in bewildered silence. Guard swings open the door, thanks them for their patience, and invites them back inside. Nervously, the two seniors wonder what on earth could have transpired inside the shed. They hope that, at the very least, he hadn't made things any worse. Stepping inside, they scream in unison, utterly stunned by the complete makeover. The once dingy, storage-like room they had endured is now a distant memory. In its place stands a snug private dorm room, ideal for living. Their old, uncomfortable straw bed that caused them so much pain is gone. A new, soft, memory foam bed now envelops them in what seems like perfect comfort. No longer must they do their homework uncomfortably on the floor. A proper study desk and chair now facilitate their academic endeavors. The old, crumbling walls and floor, once riddled with holes, have vanished. The entire area is now sparkling clean, free from drafts and creepy crawlies. Guard then motions for them to check out another new feature he's added. The seniors wonder what else he could have possibly included in their new space. Their faces twist with overwhelming emotion, tears of pure joy streaming down. Guard unveils a brand new bathroom, and they rush toward it in sheer delight. The seniors ask if he truly managed the renovation using his magic. The blonde boy admits he's never encountered magic capable of such a transformation. A faint smile flickers across the guard's face, his expression momentarily inscrutable. He happily acknowledges his position as the lowest-ranked student, scratching his head. Ecstatic, his seniors hug him, asking if they can refer to him as Master Artisan. The towering spires of the Remillion Magic Academy rise against a radiant sky. Yuri and Sasha approach the guard in a study area, inquiring about the situation. They discover him engulfed by an astonishing number of books and scrolls. Yuri exclaims she could never finish reading them, even if given a lifetime. The guard clarifies he is investigating a specific spell and borrowed the resources. The girls are astonished that the library permits borrowing so many books simultaneously. Sasha gazes at the guard, her face filled with genuine concern. She points out the dark circles under his eyes, questioning his sleep habits. He confesses he hasn't slept, driven to advance his research as much as he can. His friends exchange worried glances, their concern for him intensifying. Sasha asks him why he is pushing himself to such extreme limits. His eyes burn with a fierce, unyielding resolve. Resting his hand on the book, he declares this research is his true purpose here. Sasha counters that such advanced studies should fall to a teacher, not a student. With visible distress, he insists that he alone must conduct this research. He discloses that his research focuses on a spell deemed forbidden by society. A memory unfolds in a sunlit forest, a voice warning someone not to get carried away. A young girl named Era joyfully announces she is an adventurer on an unpaved path. She expresses gratitude to her older brother, a young guard, for bringing her to the woods. The young guard beams, happy to see her enjoying herself. He reminisces about his past life, where he had a beloved sister named Ira. Ira gently strokes a small, dark creature while he keeps a watchful eye on her. He remembers placing a flower in her hair, cherishing how significant she was. Ira once again declares herself an adventurer, wielding a small stick like a sword. She asserts that she must gather her courage and keep moving forward. Turning back, she glances at her brother with a slightly puzzled look. Their idyllic adventure is abruptly shattered by a monstrous, hulking werewolf. The young guard's face contorts in shock as he stutters about the creature. The beast snarls, its lips curling back to reveal a mouth full of sharp yellow teeth. Ira whimpers his name, clutching his shirt as he stands protectively in front of her. Despite his own terror, he vows to his sister that he will keep her safe. She nods through tears, placing her faith in her older brother. He grips a crude piece of wood, a feeble weapon against the fearsome beast. Perched on a cliff, he unleashes a fireball spell at the monster below. The werewolf effortlessly dodges the fiery attack with unnatural speed. Its eyes blaze with fury as it glares up at the two children. The guard grits his teeth in frustration, determined to make another attempt. He is completely blindsided as the beast moves with impossible swiftness. In a flash, the werewolf strikes him, sending him hurtling backward. Ira screams his name in sheer terror as he is flung from the cliff. He crashes to the ground among the bodies of other fallen children. Dazed and bleeding, he struggles to regain his senses after the brutal impact. His shock morphs into rage as he sees the monster now targeting Era. Ira screams as the beast lunges toward her, now utterly defenseless. A magical blast intercepts the creature just in time, halting its assault. The werewolf growls, momentarily thwarted by the unexpected attack. The guard charges ahead, positioning himself between his sister and the beast once again. Blood pours from his face as he shouts at the beast to leave Ira alone. The werewolf responds with a thunderous, bone-rattling roar. He urges Air to rush to safety while he distracts the creature. She glances back, fear evident yet grasping his urgent plea. He believes this foe should be one even his younger self could handle. Yet the blood from his head wound starts to obscure his sight. The merciless predator takes advantage of his momentary lapse. He realizes the monster won't let this chance slip away. Ira's expression twists into a visage of sudden, indescribable terror. Guard watches in despair as the crushing blow lands with a sickening thud. Silence envelops the world as the strike connects. His eyes widen, pupils constricting as blood splatters on his face. He gazes down, his reality fracturing in an instant. The werewolf's enormous claw drips with fresh, dark blood. His face, smeared with blood and tears, crumples in shock and sorrow. In a pool of blood lies Ira, his sister, her small form motionless. He sinks to the ground, whispering her name in a hollow, shattered tone. His sorrow ignites into a blaze of uncontrollable fury. Shifting his gaze from her lifeless body to the beast, something inside him breaks. A primal scream of sheer anguish erupts from his throat. He unleashes a relentless storm of fireballs at the creature. The werewolf howls in agony as the spells crash into its form. Overwhelmed by the fierce onslaught, the injured beast whimpers and retreats. Guard stands, breathless, his body shaking from exertion and emotion. Tears fill his eyes, mingling with utter fatigue. As cold rain begins to fall, he calls Era's name one final time. His face reflects a profound emptiness and despair. Finally, his strength gives way beneath the relentless rain. His knees buckle, collapsing into the muddy earth. He remains a solitary figure, kneeling over his sister's lifeless form. His anguished cry is swallowed by the vast, uncaring forest. The tragedy unfolds beneath the cold, weeping sky. From that moment on, he dedicated himself to the study of magic. It was the only way to prevent himself from completely unraveling. His research gradually yielded results, and his power expanded. He continued hunting monsters to sharpen his abilities. Before long, he had earned the respect of many as a sage. Yet, he found himself unable to cast a spell to bring back the dead. He believed future magical advancements might make it possible. Thus, he resolved to reincarnate into a new era to pursue his quest. In the present, he discovers the books contain only familiar knowledge. Even worse, materials from his own time are labeled as unreadable. He questions the wisdom of his plan, apologizing to ERA for the delay. His friends are taken aback by the name, asking who Aura is. The school bell rings, prompting him to swiftly change the topic. Meanwhile, Yuri and Sasha discuss a formidable new rival on their way to class. A teacher observes that everyone appears to be present in the classroom. She announces the start of classes today, urging students to keep pace. A woman with long red hair suddenly experiences a moment of clarity. In class, the teacher summons the student guard to her research room. Yuri, his friend, inquires about what led to his early summons. The guard observes with concern as the teacher exits the classroom. She casts a glance back, a subtle, mysterious smile gracing her lips. A bead of sweat trickles down the guard's forehead, his silence betraying his anxiety. Later, he knocks on the door of the research room and is invited in. As he enters, he announces himself, finding her waiting. She greets him warmly, urging him to take a seat for an important discussion. Taking a seat, the guard's expression is tense, wary of what's to come. With a slight smile, she mentions she has a question for him first. Leaning in, her gaze sharp, she asks about his true identity. The guard's eyes widen as he realizes her suspicion regarding who he is. He decides to keep his past life as a sage a secret. Calmly, he states he's merely a commoner who used to be a servant. Her eyes narrow slightly, accepting his explanation with skepticism for now. She remembers him casting an advanced copy spell just the day before. The teacher points out his use of advanced magic during the lesson. A flashback reveals him engrossed in a book, observed by his teacher. She remarks that she's never seen a commoner wield such magic. The guard jolts, realizing she's aware of his extraordinary abilities. She then brings up the test from the day prior. She presents his test results, noting he scored above full marks. His expression grows more guarded as he absorbs her findings. He cuts to the chase, asking her what her point is. Her demeanor shifts to serious as she prepares to unveil the real threat. She inquires if he has met the headmaster, to which he nods. She explains the headmaster's deep-rooted bias against commoners. In this academy, she concludes, capable commoners are not tolerated. The guard's eyes widen as the harsh truth of his situation dawns on him. He quietly grapples with the grim reality of the academy's politics. She expresses her surprise at the prospect of facing banishment. Regretting her reincarnation, she feels her research is now at a standstill. Suddenly, she bows deeply, declaring her intent to report him as a failure. The guard sits in stunned silence, bewildered by her strange declaration. She straightens, explaining that he'd be expelled if his true abilities were revealed. Frustration creeps into her tone as she vents about the headmaster's attitude. She dismisses her earlier act, ready to reveal her true intentions. Placing her hands on his shoulders, she assures him she's on his side. She shares her plan to elevate him, forcing the headmaster to accept him. The guard stares at her, taken aback by her unexpected support. Relief floods him as he realizes he was overthinking the threat. She playfully insists he remain in teacher magic, calling him sensei. Later, the guard sighs in relief as she finally releases his arm. He suddenly realizes the entire school day has slipped away. Standing in the empty classroom, he's surprised by two familiar figures. Yuri and Sasha confirm they were waiting for him to finish. Yuri explains their worry when he didn't return to class. Sasha asks with genuine concern if he's okay after the lengthy meeting. The guard clarifies that he was simply teaching Alea-sensei some magic. Both girls react in synchronized shock, questioning who he was instructing. He looks at them, puzzled by their extreme and sudden response. He inquires about Elia-sensei's fame, and they eagerly affirm it. Sasha clarifies that she is a top expert on magical formulas. The guard confesses he didn't anticipate his teacher's high status. Yuri recalls that his lengthy absence caused him to miss all classes. The two girls excitedly gather around his desk, offering to help him catch up. Guard, overwhelmed by their excitement, quietly accepts their assistance. Sasha becomes perplexed while attempting to explain the lesson. Frustration hits her as she realizes she's the one being taught. Yuri jests, surprised she's lasted this long despite her struggles. A flustered Sasha pleads to end the day, but Yuri playfully declines. Watching their playful banter, a genuine smile breaks across Guard's face. His friends quickly notice, relieved to see him finally smile. They express their concern, having sensed his distress all morning. Together, they proclaim their loyalty, assuring him he can count on them. Guard feels deeply touched by their heartfelt declaration of friendship. With a gentle smile, he looks down and quietly thanks them for their support. He reflects that unlike 600 years ago, he now has trustworthy allies. With renewed resolve, he silently vows to someone named Error. The scene transitions to the grand estate of the Trey Count family. An infuriated Count Trey confronts his son Lotto about his exam failure. Lotto, in tears, blames his failure on that guy, referring to Guard. He kneels before his father, claiming he lost due to Guard's underhanded tactics. The Count freezes, stunned by the mention of Guard's name. He realizes Guard's achievements demonstrate his strength against the demon beasts. His expression hardens, grasping a grim and terrible truth. Lotto looks up, confused and frightened by his father's sudden shift. Count Coley questions why Lotto returned instead of the capable Guard. Lotto retorts, questioning why his father speaks of someone beneath contempt. The Count erupts in rage, grabbing his son and roaring for him to be quiet. He steps back, preparing to deliver a harsh judgment on Lotto. He laments having trusted his son's words. He demands to know if Lotto can defeat the monsters plaguing their land. Lotto tearfully admits his failure stems from banishing Guard. The Count banishes his own son, shouting for him to leave immediately. Lotto looks up in disbelief, tearfully asking if his father is serious. The massive iron gates of the estate slam shut, sealing Lotto's fate. Stumbling away, Lotto vows never to forgive Guard for this. He screams Guard's name, consumed by a rage that will endure for generations. Guard narrates his new routine since meeting Elia-sensei. In exchange for teaching her magic, he gains access to her private library. He spends his after-school hours immersed in her rare book collection. Through their discussions, he has grasped two vital insights. First, individual magical power has significantly diminished. Consequently, most people can now only wield intermediate magic. Only a select few, like teachers and top students, can access advanced magic. He worries he drew too much attention by using advanced magic during the exam. The second insight concerns Elia-sensei herself. Guard's inner thoughts commend his teacher, Elia, as a true master. He sits with a book, wishing he could consult her about his research. Suddenly, Elia leans in close, startling him with her presence. She directly inquires about the nature of his research. Taken aback, the guards stutter, unable to provide a clear response. He recalls that bringing the dead back to life is a significant taboo. He fears that involving his esteemed mentor could lead to serious consequences for her. In an attempt to divert her, he claims he's merely reading various topics. Noticing his uncertainty, she asks if something is troubling him. Her gaze sharpens, clearly unconvinced by his weak excuse. She enumerates the specific, interconnected topics of the books he selected. Her demeanor is serious as she persists with her questioning. She highlights that he is concentrating on a very particular area of study. She observes that his hesitant tone has revealed his dishonesty. Standing before him, she questions whether he aims to breach a taboo. The guard's eyes widen, stunned that he has been completely exposed. Ella's expression remains grave, waiting for his truthful reply. A drop of sweat rolls down his temple as he wrestles with the truth. He internally acknowledges that his mentor is too perceptive to be fooled. With a book in hand, he reluctantly affirms her suspicions. Surrounded by books, he finally admits to researching resurrection magic. Ella confirms that she had suspected this all along. The guard gazes at her seriously, awaiting her verdict. She begins to elaborate on the immense seriousness of reviving the dead. Such an act, she asserts, is like defying the very laws of nature. It's essentially a declaration of war against the divine. She cautions him that he might sacrifice something invaluable in the process. She then questions whether he has the determination for such a significant sacrifice. The guard begins to share his motivation, starting with his younger sister. He reminisces about how lively and joyful his sister always was. A memory of her radiant smile reveals how dear she was to him. His expression darkens with sorrow as he recalls the tragic incident. He confesses to Aaliyah that his sister's death was his fault. His eyes blaze with determination as he continues his heartfelt explanation. He expresses his desire to see his sister one last time. He proclaims that he would sacrifice anything for that opportunity. A close-up of Ella's eye reveals her unreadable expression. She prefaces her next statement by saying it's her personal view. With a clenched fist, she asserts that rules are meant to be challenged. The guard is utterly shocked by her unexpected rebellious declaration. Recognizing his determination, she offers her complete support for his research. He is still processing her surprising and encouraging change of heart. He fears that delving into a taboo could jeopardize her position. She brushes off his worries, confident in her ability to remain undetected. With a laugh, she remarks that valuable insights often lie beyond conventional wisdom. The scene shifts to a stunning, starry night sky. The guard strolls down an empty school corridor, realizing he has lingered too long. He peeks into a classroom, his attention drawn to a figure inside. He spots the blonde girl Yuri sitting alone at a desk. Yuri gazes down thoughtfully, completely oblivious to his presence. As he enters the room, the guard calls her name, startling her. Her head snaps up, her face reddening with surprise and embarrassment. She is utterly taken aback by his sudden appearance. Her surprise is palpable as she gasps silently, eyes wide. Stammering his name, she inquires about his presence in the tech room. In her fluster, she accidentally nudges her desk, causing a bracelet to roll off. A panicked shout escapes her as her project crashes to the ground. The guard mentions he spotted her while coming back from Aaliyah's lab. He gazes at the dropped bracelet, curiosity etched on his face. As he reaches down to retrieve it, she urgently pleads with him not to. He inspects the bracelet, clearly impressed by its detailed design. Cradling the decorative piece, he identifies it as a bracelet. Yuri, her cheeks flushed, confirms that it is indeed a bracelet. He observes that the bracelet appears far too large for her wrist. He then questions if it might be a gift meant for someone else. Yuri, blushing with embarrassment, struggles to articulate a response. He kindly praises her effort, assuring her the recipient will be pleased. Yuri feels a wave of relief that he didn't pry into who the gift is for. The guard's keen eyes catch another small detail on the bracelet. He points out an empty slot, asking if she intends to add something there. She affirms her intention, but admits the item she seeks is elusive. The guard inquires about this specific item she is searching for. She asks if he knows about magic stones, to which he nods. A diagram illustrates magic stones or rare gems that enhance gear. Yuri explains her desire to attach one as a charm for good luck. The guard listens intently, now fully grasping her objective. He points out that acquiring one involves defeating numerous monsters. He reminds her that Academy regulations forbid monster fights without consent. A small diagram indicates that this rule is for the safety of students. Yuri sighs, lamenting her inability to get permission or afford one. She appears disheartened, feeling a magic stone is out of reach. She shares her disappointment, eager to complete the gift soon. The guard listens to her troubles, his expression serious and contemplative. Yuri looks disheartened, her plans seemingly hitting a wall. With a grin, the guard suggests they go hunt monsters right away. Yuri is taken aback, reminding him that it violates the rules. The guard, echoing his mentor, insists that rules are made to be broken. Yuri stares at him, her face a blend of fear and astonishment. She expresses her worries about the risks, but he reassures her. Still hesitant, she weighs his promise of safety against her doubts. He tells her the final choice rests entirely with her. She gazes at him, her expression hardening with newfound determination. Gripping the item she was working on, she starts to respond. With unwavering resolve, she declares that she truly wants to go. The guard nods, accepting her choice with a small, confident grin. He announces that the matter is settled and begins to cast a spell. He states he will set the coordinates for a monster-infested area. A massive, glowing magic circle appears before them. Yuri shields her eyes, dazzled by the brilliance of the spell. The guard explains they can teleport by stepping into the magic circle. A mix of determination and slight anxiety crosses Yuri's face. Standing before the glowing circle, she tells the guard she has a request. She clutches her chest, begging him to allow her to face the monsters alone. The guard turns, surprise flickering across his face at her daring request. He probes her confidence, offering his aid for the battle ahead. From the other side of the room, she resolutely declines, wanting to do this alone. She shares her belief that a gift holds more value when crafted by her own hands. The guard absorbs her sincere words, his expression shifting to one of understanding. She admits that by asking him to teleport her, she's already leaning on his abilities. With determination, she requests to manage the rest without his further assistance. He gazes down at her as she bows, her request lingering in the air. He acknowledges her unwavering determination and the significance of her gift. With a gentle smile of understanding, he consents to her wishes. Her expression brightens with a blend of surprise, relief, and gratitude. The guard announces it's time to leave, and Yuri eagerly agrees to accompany him. A dazzling flash of light erupts, signaling the teleportation spell's activation. They are whisked through the magical circle, the world warping into brilliance. Serious and focused, their faces reflect the gravity of their journey through the portal. The portal drops them in a small clearing, deep within a shadowy forest. He clarifies that he teleported them away from the monsters to prevent being cornered. He points toward the direction where the monster's presence is palpable. His hand gestures toward the wild, dense woods that lie ahead. Yuri's expression reveals her surprise and discomfort at the unclear path. She inquires about their next steps, noting the absence of any visible road. He affirms they are deep in a forest, a place few have the chance to reach. He turns to Yuri, questioning if she feels capable of facing the challenge ahead. A large, plump caterpillar crawls slowly across a nearby leaf. A sinister spider lurks at the center of its elaborate, dewy web. A small dark leech clings to her leg, hidden in the grass. Her face drains of color, pure horror etched across her sweat-soaked features. Sweat trickles down her face as her eyes glaze over with fear. Her features are drawn tight, revealing her utter disgust. Overwhelmed by dread, she instinctively clutches the guard's arm for support. He looks down, taken aback by her sudden, frightened grip. She quickly releases him, apologizing profusely and explaining her impulsive reaction. A bead of sweat rolls down her cheek as she steadies herself. Clenching her fist, she reminds herself not to rely on the guard's strength. Standing tall, she asserts that she is fine and ready to move forward. His expression sharpens as he senses their targets are drawing near. They advance together, the air thick with tension and anticipation. Yuri asks the guard if this is the place, and he quietly affirms her suspicion. Before them stands the dark, gaping entrance of a dungeon framed by twisted trees. The trees are strange and foreboding, adorned with thorns and eerie eye-like patterns. Their long shadows stretch out as they approach the dungeon's entrance. Their faces are grim and focused, bracing for the unknown ahead. She whispers that this is her first encounter with a real dungeon. He nods, confirming her observation. He begins to explain that, in essence, a dungeon is an underground maze. He elaborates that dungeons can be either natural formations or man-made structures. Countless glowing eyes peer from the shadows as he describes it as a monster's lair. Her complexion pales and she trembles at the imminent danger. Instinctively, she grips his jacket, her fear evident in her tense stance. The guard remains calm and composed, a stark contrast to her visible fear. He stands at the shadowy entrance, assuring her there's no reason for fear. With a grin, he confidently claims there are no formidable beasts lurking inside. Surprised, she asks how he can be so certain about that. He starts to elaborate, but quickly catches himself in mid-sentence. He shifts his explanation, asserting that it's common knowledge to gauge strength by muscle. She marvels at the versatility of muscles as he nervously suggests entering. Their footwear crosses from the grassy exterior to the stone interior. They step into the shadows, leaving the forest's faint light behind. A drop of sweat forms on her brow as she surveys the oppressive darkness. The guard's face is serious and alert as they venture into the cavern. He begins to speak, his voice slicing through the heavy silence. She remarks on the dungeon's darkness, her tone tinged with anxiety. She interrupts him, insisting on using magic to illuminate the space. A small orb of glowing magic materializes in her palm. With a burst of light, a brilliant sphere radiates from her hand. The new light hovers, exposing the cavern's rough stone walls. Feeling bolstered by the glow, she declares her readiness to confront monsters. The guard's demeanor sharpens as he senses an imminent danger. He calls her name, urgently warning her to halt. A thick, sticky substance begins to ooze down her face. The repulsive liquid splatters across her hair, face, and uniform. Her eyes widen in confusion and disgust as she gets drenched in slime. He points upward as she panics, demanding to know what it is. A grotesque slime creature dangles from the ceiling, its form resembling a twisted skull. The gelatinous mass starts to detach, dripping down to the ground. She mutters about its slimy texture, her face twisted in disgust. He calmly identifies the quivering blob as a blue slime. He explains that it's a low-tier water elemental monster. He clarifies that targeting its core is essential for victory. She tightens her fists, vowing to give her all in the battle. His expression darkens as he cautions her to stay vigilant. He bluntly warns her that carelessness could lead to her demise. His gaze is intense as he begins to outline the slime's attack pattern. He describes the consequences if the slime's goo envelops her face. A chilling image flashes of someone gasping for air in torment. Her eyes go wide with fear, sweat trickling down her terrified face. She admits she wished she hadn't heard that, her resolve starting to wane. Looking down, a single bead of sweat rolls down her cheek as she ponders. Her fear transforms into fierce determination as she vows to fight. She believes that conquering this challenge will boost her confidence. She unleashes a colossal fireball spell, a whirlwind of flames and magic. The fiery spell crashes into the gelatinous form of the slime. The explosion sends ripples through the creature's gelatinous body. The fireball detonates, engulfing the blue slime in a surge of energy. Her face reflects pure disbelief as she witnesses the aftermath. She realizes her blunder as the slime quivers, but remains mostly unharmed. He calmly reminds her that fire magic doesn't work well against water elementals. Pinned to the ground, Yuri cries out as the slime overwhelms her. She looks up in confusion, wondering how the creature managed to reach her. The monster unleashes a flurry of smaller projectiles, making her yelp in shock. The guard surveys the scene, concern etched on his face, a bead of sweat trickling down. He thinks to himself that lesser monsters usually attack head-on, lacking such strategy. Unease creeps in as he realizes something is seriously amiss in this dungeon. Yuri, drenched and under siege, endures a relentless barrage of slime projectiles. The story reveals the blue slime's water elemental traits and its shape-shifting abilities. Her feet are ensnared, immobilized by the creature's sticky goo. In desperation, she ponders her next move in this overwhelming predicament. The guard assesses her situation, his face tense as he evaluates the conflict. Cutting through her fear, he yells for her to focus on halting the enemy's actions. Yuri nods in agreement, her mind racing to devise a new plan. She realizes a direct attack will be thwarted by the ongoing onslaught. A strategy begins to form in her mind to effectively stop the creature. With fierce determination, a spark of clarity ignites in her eyes. She understands precisely what needs to be done to shift the battle's momentum. Channeling her magic, she casts a freeze spell targeting the ground near the monster. The guard observes her successful maneuver, a small smile of approval creeping onto his face. The blue slime is now completely immobilized, its movements restricted by the sharp ice. With the monster frozen, Yuri readies herself to deliver a decisive blow. She unleashes a torrent of green arrows from a magical circle. The overwhelming assault crashes into the frozen creature, shattering its icy prison. The creature's gelatinous form is ripped apart by the barrage of magical shards. Its remnants dissolve, leaving two glowing orbs on the cavern floor. In the stillness that follows, the last traces of the monster evaporate. Yuri stands in disbelief, whispering to herself that she has emerged victorious. Meanwhile, a mysterious witch watches the triumph, two bound adventurers at her back. She clenches her fist, deciding it's time to reward the victors. Back in the cavern, Yuri is taken aback as a valuable item drops. She expresses her confusion over the unexpected reward. The large, shimmering magic stone is revealed, a rare drop from a single foe. The guards suggest wrapping up their expedition here, leaving Yuri surprised. He stands firm in his decision, his expression serious and resolute. He explains that the monster's strange movements indicate something is definitely off. His instincts are heightened, a wave of paranoia washing over him. He confides in her, sharing his unsettling feeling of being watched. Prioritizing her safety, he declares their mission accomplished for the day. Yuri gazes at him, her expression shifting to something more mysterious and knowing. She agrees with him, noting that the day is drawing to a close. He offers to teleport them back to their dorm, and she expresses her gratitude. As he casts the spell, Yuri studies him with a calculating, unreadable expression. She clutches a small pouch to her chest, her thoughts concealed. Afterward, Yuri reflects on how she couldn't have triumphed without the guard's vital advice. She holds an ornate bracelet, frustrated that he once again ended up saving her. Despite having the magic stone, she questions her worthiness to gift it to him. Her expression turns somber as she contemplates her own perceived inadequacies. A small comical version of herself appears, flailing its arms in frustration. She resolves firmly that she cannot yet give him the bracelet and must wait. With renewed determination, she vows to present it only after she has become stronger. She envisions a future where she can stand proudly beside him. She imagines a time when she can also be of assistance to him. The bracelet symbolizes her vow for future strength and partnership. The enigmatic witch cradles a glass of wine, her disappointment evident as her target prepares to depart. She had anticipated his foolishness, similar to the other adventurers she had ensnared. Her mind reveals she thought he would be lured by the allure of a reward. In her shadowy lair, she sits among her trapped, powerless captives. Brushing aside her disappointment, she resolves to save the main course for later. One of her prisoners screams in pain as the thorny vines constrict tighter. Her wine glass is stained with blood, a testament to her ruthless actions. She senses a faint trace of magical energy, identifying her target's signature. The adventurer leader harshly scolds his porter Lotto for his sluggishness. Lotto, a disgraced former noble, struggles under the burden of a hefty backpack. He gasps for breath, sweat streaming down his face as he stutters an apology. The leader scratches his head, voicing his irritation at the slow-moving porter. He cruelly reminds Lotto that he rescued him from destitution and offered him a job. He threatens to cast Lotto out again if he doesn't pick up the pace. Humiliated and powerless, Lotto can only mutter curses under his breath. He attempts to lift his crushed spirit by recalling his noble lineage. Startled by the leader's shout, he snaps to attention, stammering his compliance. He shouts his vow to give his all as the group ventures deeper into the forest. The quiet female member of the group spots something in the distance. She catches the leader's attention, pointing towards her discovery. Before them swirls a vortex of darkness, the foreboding entrance to a dungeon. The quartet stands at the clearing's edge, staring at the ominous portal. Lotto watches nervously, gripping the strap of his pack tightly. The leader's greed overtakes him as he declares he can smell treasure. The group agrees to share their findings and rushes forward with enthusiasm. Inside, the leader conjures magical orbs, blasting away skeletal foes. The female mage unleashes crackling bolts of lightning at their enemies. The brawny warrior swings his weapon, smashing a large reptilian beast. Lotto scrambles to gather loot, his role reduced to that of a pack mule. The battle unfolds in a dynamic vertical panel filled with action. After the skirmish, the leader breathes heavily, his face strained from effort. He comments that even the low-tier monsters proved unexpectedly tough. A victorious atmosphere envelops the group as they examine their loot. The leader, warrior, and mage exchange satisfied smiles, clutching their spoils. He proudly showcases a sparkling pile of magical stones, proclaiming their future wealth. They begin to dream about their rewards, envisioning new homes. The warrior imagines a snug home complete with his own garden. The mage envisions a grand estate featuring a canopy bed and a personal butler. The leader dreams of constructing a downtown house with a tavern for nightly revelries. Lotto listens, a hopeful and eager look lighting up his face. He shyly shares his own dream of a lavish mansion adorned with a statue of himself. The other three adventurers stop smiling, turning to glare at him with disdain. The leader's voice is eerily calm as he informs Lotto that he won't receive a share. Lotto's expression falls, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He stutters, reminding the leader of his promise to divide the treasures. With a mocking grin, the leader tells the porter not to misunderstand. He holds up a single pitiful coin, explaining that his pay is fixed. The cruel adventurer leader, Mox Lotto, informs him that his salary will never change. Lotto stands in profile, hand outstretched, utterly stunned by the betrayal. Frustration wells in his eyes as he clenches his fists in impotent rage. His companions cackle cruelly, relishing in his shame and pain. Out of the shadows, a mysterious witch suddenly embraces the leader, branding him a villain. The leader is taken aback by this sudden and intimate intrusion. His two allies demand to know who this strange woman is and where she came from. Lotto, weighed down by his pack, observes the odd scene with unease. The witch stands among the adventurers, her unexpected arrival creating a tense atmosphere. With a hand on his chest, she boldly declares her affection for bad men. He questions her intentions, thinking she might be a lost adventurer in need. The leader decides to humor what he interprets as a flirtation. With a smug smile, he tells her he has no disdain for women like her. The witch beams, pleased with his agreeable response. Her sharp nails delicately trace his face as she leans in closer. She whispers her desire to be bolder in her approach. With intimacy, she asks if she can pierce his heart. He bursts into laughter, finding her words both amusing and flirtatious. With a final chilling grin, she vows to unleash her true power. She mockingly inquires if she pierced his heart well after the fatal strike. The female adventurer screams in horror, calling out for her fallen leader. His expression is one of disbelief as he wonders why this is occurring. The witch delights in his pained expression, proclaiming her love for such moments. She explains her joy in tormenting bad people with their wonderful reactions. Standing over the leader's lifeless body, the witch comments on the satisfaction of the kill. Lotto is paralyzed on the ground, his face a portrait of sheer terror. He loses control, whimpering that he doesn't want to die. The remaining adventurers, a spearman and a mage, gear up to fight, sweat dripping with resolve. The female mage confronts the witch, demanding to know what her issue is. The witch observes her two remaining foes with a detached, predatory stare. She reflects on having let a significant target slip away earlier. Her corrupted, bloodied hand drips as she admits her irritation. Thus, she decides her new victims will serve a purpose. She announces they will help her relieve some stress, grinning sadistically. The female mage, though frightened, begins to channel a potent spell. The spearman vehemently rejects her order, launching into a fierce attack. He brings his spear down with tremendous force, aiming to crush the witch. His face contorts with pure rage and effort as he strikes. A glowing portal appears, swallowing the tip of his spear mid-strike. The spearman stands in shock, bewildered by the disappearance of his weapon's tip. Behind him, his female companion emits a pained grunt. His face twists in dawning horror as he grasps the truth. His own spear has emerged from a second portal, fatally impaling his ally. The witch taunts him, asking if he knew her transmission spell could work like this. The spearman is left speechless, his face slick with sweat and despair. Overcome with grief, he screams a curse and charges at her once more. His rage is absolute as he rushes in for a final showdown. The witch observes his desperate, furious advance with unsettling calm. A shadowy beast appears and attacks, sending the spearman crashing past a terrified Lotto. Lotto screams in terror at the sight of the spearman's mangled, bloody form. Now isolated, he scrambles backward, begging the witch to keep her distance. He desperately tries to use his noble status as a shield against her. The witch merely chuckles at his threat, stating she has no regard for rules. She cradles his face, insisting he show her his most despairing expression. Defeated, Lotto curses under his breath, consumed by rage. Lotto envisions Gar, blaming him for all his misfortunes. The witch readies a final lethal incantation, her hand radiating energy. Lotto throws his head back, unleashing a scream of defiance to the sky. He yells the guard's name with every ounce of strength, the sound reverberating. The witch's spell falters as Lotto urgently pleads for her to stop. Lotto is taken aback by the unexpected halt in his execution. A solitary tear carves a path down the witch's cheek. She gazes down, her thoughts swirling after hearing that name. Leaning closer, she fervently asks if he truly mentioned the guard. Her eyes shine with a frenzied light as she prepares to act. She proclaims her desire to access his memories, pressing her hand to his forehead. A vision of Lotto shouting at the guard flashes in her mind. A chaotic flood of Lotto's humiliations and his loathing for the guard overwhelms her. Her eye, filled with swirling rings, absorbs every memory. She withdraws her hand, leaving Lotto stunned on the ground. A soft, eerie chuckle escapes her as she processes the revelations. Her laughter escalates, becoming more unhinged, frightening the bewildered Lotto. She tilts her head back, releasing a thunderous, maniacal laugh of pure joy. Her entire demeanor shifts as she addresses Lotto by name. Lotto is taken aback, stammering to ask how she knows his name. Suddenly, she embraces him, expressing her genuine happiness at their meeting. Lotto is utterly confused by this unexpected display of affection. She beams, expressing her hope for them to get along. With a cheerful tone, she offers to treat him to a meal, asking his preference. Lotto is in shock, his stomach growling in the tense silence. His expression is one of utter confusion, struggling to grasp the sudden shift. After a lengthy pause, he tentatively asks for a hamburger. The scene transitions to a classroom where a teacher instructs students to take their seats. A group of students listens intently as the magic science lesson is about to commence. The teacher announces that today's lesson will focus on magic control training. She points out a student named Sasha, inquiring if she can perform a fire spell. Sasha confidently replies that she can, a playful grin on her face. She demonstrates by effortlessly igniting a small flame on her fingertip. Elia, the teacher, expresses her relief with a warm smile. She makes a backhanded remark that if Sasha can do it, anyone should be able to. She explains that the power of a spell is determined by the magic infused within. To illustrate, she conjures a tiny candle flame with minimal magical energy. She then clarifies that increasing the magic will amplify the spell's effect. Her flame expands into a larger, more significant fire. The students, including Guard and Sasha, watch the demonstration with keen interest. At the chalkboard, she discusses the strategic importance of adjusting a spell's output. Chalk diagrams illustrate how this prevents wasting energy or underpowering spells. She concludes that mastering this skill is vital in an age of waning magic. Inside the classroom, the teacher instructs her students to practice adjusting their spells. Sasha, a girl with small horns, focuses but struggles to change the flame's size. Suddenly, her spell erupts uncontrollably, causing her to gasp in surprise. Around the room, other students also grapple with the challenging exercise. A wider shot of the class reveals a general atmosphere of struggle and frustration. The teacher observes the chaos, noting that everyone is struggling as anticipated. She thinks about how challenging it is to master magic control even for herself. Her gaze lands on a specific student who appears to be excelling. She approaches a noble girl, complimenting her impressive performance. The girl chuckles softly, clearly pleased with the praise. With a self-satisfied grin, she claims such talent is expected of nobility. She then boasts about teaching others, disregarding her own instructor. Her haughty eyes scan the classroom, looking for her next victim. She notices a guard in front of her, recognizing him as a commoner. With a patronizing expression, she comments on his lowly status as the worst student. She then offers to teach him, but only if he becomes her servant. Sasha begins to rise, angrily defending the guard. The noble girl looks taken aback by the unexpected interruption. Before Sasha can respond, the guard calmly turns her down, stating he's fine. The noble girl's face twists in shock, drenched in sweat from his casual defiance. Rendered speechless, she recoils from her desk, her arrogance shattered. All she can do is stammer, struggling to grasp the power he just displayed. Completely humiliated, she slumps forward in her seat. Sasha smiles, believing the girl now sees how remarkable the guard truly is. From the sidelines, Alea-sensei watches with a knowing smirk. Sasha thinks about how the guard's power is beyond anyone's understanding. She recalls the rumors about his vast magical reserves during the entrance exam. She also remembers whispers of him casting highest-tier magic in quick succession. Ella's hand tightens into a fist, her playful demeanor vanishing. As a researcher, she feels an urgent need to verify his abilities herself. She swiftly approaches his desk, leaning in to catch his attention. The teacher then requests him to unleash the spell at full power. Guard is taken aback by her sudden and reckless demand. He questions the wisdom of her command, wondering if it might be dangerous. Aaliyah cheerfully brushes off his concerns, assuring him it will be fine. She explains that the spell is too basic to pose any real danger. The rest of the class watches as Guard hesitates under her intense stare. Reluctantly, he consents to cast the spell, but only for a brief moment. A tremendous pressure suddenly radiates from him, splintering the solid wood of her desk. The sheer force of his magic sends Ellie stumbling backward in shock. A look of dawning horror spreads across her face as she realizes her error. A beam of pure destructive energy shoots from his finger as she grasps her mistake. Her face reflects sheer terror as the spell is unleashed. The other students scream in panic, thrown from their seats by the shockwave. The arrogant, noble girl is hurled back, her expression blank with shock. Another female student is caught in the chaotic blast, her mouth agape in fear. A male student grits his teeth, sweating from the overwhelming force of the spell. After the explosion, a long, charred gouge is left etched into the classroom wall. Guard stands amidst the wreckage, head bowed as he offers a heartfelt apology. Aaliyah rushes over, telling him it's okay and that he should lift his head. She takes full responsibility for what happened, clearing him of any blame. Suddenly remembering something, she claps her hands. She informs him that she has a business trip to attend after class. Guard asks where she's headed, noting that trips are rare for her. She explains she's going to a dungeon in a nearby forest filled with spiky trees. The guard's eyes widen, recognition dawning suddenly as they hear the description. A jolt of realization hits him. This is the same spot he and Yuri explored. His sharp shout halts Ellie just as she's about to walk away. Her gaze sharpens, calling out his name with a hint of suspicion. She notes that he sounds like he has insider knowledge about the place. It's time for interrogation, she declares, summoning him to her lab. In her lab later, Leia explodes with shock and fury. She angrily demands to know if he truly brought Yuri into that dungeon. Head bowed in shame, Guard quietly admits that he did. She grabs him, scolding him for violating academy rules and endangering himself. All he can do is offer a timid, flustered apology for his reckless behavior. Her anger melts into relief as she thanks him for their safety. Guard then questions why she's being sent to that same perilous dungeon. Aaliyah falls silent, her expression turning grave and serious again. She reveals that several bizarre adventurer corpses were found inside. Guard looks up, shocked by the grim and unexpected revelation. She clarifies that, sadly, this wasn't just a simple monster attack. While dying to monsters isn't unusual, this case is different. She explains that magical traces were discovered on the victim's wounds. Horrified, Guard realizes that a human is behind these deaths. He dreads the dangerous place he unwittingly led Yuri into. This new information sheds light on the monster's clever, coordinated attacks. He recalls the eerie sensation of being watched through magic. His expression hardens as a more troubling thought strikes him. He realizes he's never heard of magic that can control monsters or observe from afar. As a former sage, he wonders if a more powerful mage exists. He stands in silence for a moment, lost in dark, troubling thoughts. Ella starts packing her satchel for the upcoming mission. She outlines her plan to investigate the dungeon and seal it off. She admits it's a direct order from the headmaster, one she can't refuse. Guard watches, concern for her safety deepening in his expression. She brushes him off, telling him he can head home for the day. Guard is taken aback by her casual dismissal in such a serious moment. He rushes forward, begging her to let him join her on the mission. Alia's face shows her annoyance at his sudden outburst. She reminds him that she just told him to stay put and avoid involvement. Guard stands firm, his serious expression ready to argue his point. His eyes narrow as he begins to explain the true level of danger. He warns her that the murderer possesses a completely different skill set. Elia is briefly amused by a student worrying so much about his teacher. Her amusement fades quickly as she takes his earnest warning seriously. She acknowledges that Guard's strength far surpasses her own. She weighs the risks of bringing a student into such a perilous situation. She ponders for a moment, arms crossed in deep contemplation. With a sigh, she finally gives in and agrees to his passionate plea. In a dimly lit room, Elias suggests they go together, and Guard eagerly agrees. Raising a finger, she asks him to promise her one vital thing. She states her condition. They must retreat at the first hint of danger. With a confident look, she checks if he understands her rule. Guard adjusts his tie with a smile, confirming he fully comprehends. With their gear packed, Elia eagerly declares it's time to set off. An elaborate glowing teleportation circle appears on the library floor. She takes pride in explaining that this complex spell enables teleportation anywhere. With a mischievous grin, she inquires if Guard can perform such magic too. Guard watches, a slightly embarrassed yet knowing look on his face. He nods respectfully, confirming he can indeed use the spell. Alea chuckles, impressed by his remarkable talent. She teases him as an unteachable pupil while they teleport back to the dungeon. They reappear in a barren clearing, with Elia confirming their arrival. She quickly briefs them on their task to search the dungeon for clues and survivors. As they near the cave, Guard shares a troubling thought. He wonders why the academy is responsible for sealing the dungeon. It doesn't seem like a teacher's duty, yet he reluctantly agrees. Her demeanor shifts to serious as she explains the unavoidable circumstances. She reveals that sealing it requires powerful barrier magic, an advanced spell. Only teachers from the academy can wield it, justifying their presence. Suddenly, Guard's instincts kick in, his eyes sharpening with focus. He stands beside his teacher, confirming her presence as he scans ahead. He warns her of his senses tingling as glowing eyes emerge from the shadows. A massive swarm of goblins fills the cavern entrance before them. Guard calmly identifies them as low-tier monsters, suggesting a quick fight. In an instant, a goblin is obliterated by a powerful blast. Elia urges them to be cautious, warning that the creatures might act unpredictably. Her expression shifts to one of keen curiosity at this intriguing thought. She ponders the prospect of encountering irregular monsters. Her eyes sparkle with excitement as she declares them a captivating research opportunity. She dives headfirst into the horde, eager to start her research and combat. A massive goblin is struck squarely in the face by her magically charged hair. The forceful hit sends the creature staggering back across the cavern floor. Guard observes the impressive display, a confident smile on his face. He notes her exceptional control over magic, manipulating her hair with mana. Elia reflects that she hasn't encountered any particularly unusual attacks yet. Her gaze lands on a new goblin wielding a jagged, crude knife. The creature pulls its blade from a sheath strapped to its leg. It throws the knife with surprising speed and precision straight at her. The spinning blade slices through the air, aimed directly at its target. Elia watches the incoming projectile, calm and focused. She raises a shield of hair, recognizing it's merely a standard thrown knife. The goblin glares with malicious intent, its clever plan already in motion. A bright flash erupts as her hair deflects the first knife. Her eyes widen in shock as a second knife suddenly appears behind it. She realizes it was a feint, thrown from the blind spot of the first knife. The second knife strikes her squarely in the forehead with a sickening thud. Guard watches in horror, his face drained of color from shock and fear. He shouts his teacher's name across the battlefield littered with fallen goblins. The knife clatters harmlessly to the stone floor, its attack having failed. Guard exhales a shaky, relieved laugh, admitting she was just joking. Elia playfully adjusts her bangs, noting it's fortunate they're long. Guard realizes the mana in her hair stopped the blade, expressing his deep relief. She decides to take them all down at once before they can pull any more tricks. She shouts Guard's name, instantly grabbing his attention. She tells him to stay put, and he nods in confusion. He pauses, a drop of sweat trickling down his face. The remaining goblins surge forward as a coordinated horde. Elia comforts him, her hair radiating immense energy. She unleashes Hair Urchin, a barrage of sharp spikes engulfing the swarm. The goblins are pierced from every angle by her devastating attack. They fall instantly, their bodies covered in numerous puncture marks. Guard observes the horrific scene, his expression grim and intent. Elia exhales softly, relieved that the immediate fight is over. Standing over the heap of vanquished foes, she claims the job is done. She playfully nudges Guard to hurry, eager to return home and style her hair. He agrees, suggesting they should minimize their overtime. As they venture further, she remarks that these monsters are unusual. Guard inquires if she shares his sentiment, struggling to articulate it. He notes their tactics seem too advanced for mere low-level creatures. His face hardens as he speculates about their true nature. He proposes that perhaps they are under the influence of a spell. Elia contemplates his idea, her hand resting on her chin in thought. She concurs with his observation, admitting it felt like battling humans. Guard remains silent for a moment, sweat beading on his forehead. She confesses she's never encountered such a spell and can't fathom its workings. He's taken aback that even she is unaware, beginning to doubt his theory. She continues to ponder the implications of such a person existing. She speculates they might hail from a time of far greater magic. Guard's eyes widen in silent, profound shock at her casual remark. She quickly brushes it off as a joke, questioning how time travel would even work. He turns away, her comment hitting a deeply personal chord. Meanwhile, a sinister woman with spiral eyes grins with predatory glee. Her dining partner, a startled Lotto, is interrupted mid-bite. He asks if his unsettling companion plans to finish her meal. She apologizes with a dismissive, eerie smile. She tells him to eat without her, as she'll have her meal later. She reveals she must attend to unexpected guests, holding a glowing charm. Back in the dungeon, Guard's eyes widen in sheer, unfiltered terror. Elia mirrors his horrified look, her pupils constricting in fear. A pool of inky black shadow rises from the stone floor before them. It bursts forth into a massive winged demon looming menacingly. Guard asks what the creature is, sweat trickling down his face in panic. He remembers only encountering low-level monsters during his last dungeon visit. Elia insists it's too perilous and they need to retreat, but he counters they can't. He explains the demon isn't allowing them any chance to escape. The monster lunges, slamming its arm down with earth-shattering force. The shockwave sends Elia hurtling through the air with a startled cry. She whips her hair forward, desperately trying to counter the blow. With a powerful lash of her hair, Elia launches a fierce counterattack. Her long, flowing red hair swings through the air with tremendous force. She gasps from the effort, awed by the opponent's overwhelming strength. Calling out Guard's name, she anxiously checks if he's okay. All that remains is the remnants of a shattered, powerful defensive spell. The Guard stands firm before the demon, reassuring her that it's all under control. Eli's eyes widen in sheer astonishment at his unyielding posture. She marvels, realizing he hasn't budged an inch. In awe of his strength, she breathes a sigh of relief, glad he's safe. With confidence, the Guard instructs Elia to keep her distance, promising to handle it himself. She reminds him of their earlier vow to avoid recklessness. He gives her a reassuring nod, affirming he won't act foolishly. Ella's face reflects a blend of trust and lingering worry. Trusting him, she consents to let him take charge of the confrontation. The monster hefts its enormous, fearsome polearm, poised for combat. A radiant hexagonal barrier forms, intercepting the demon's vicious strike. The collision sends shockwaves and debris hurtling through the cavern. He adjusts his glasses, scrutinizing his powerful adversary with intent. With a pointed finger, he releases a potent magical assault. The devastating blast envelops the dark creature in a brilliant glow. The blinding radiance from his magical strike starts to diminish. A solid dark figure remains, completely unaffected by the onslaught. The Guard stares in disbelief as the monster emerges fully from the light. His confident demeanor falters, replaced by sheer astonishment. The creature's terrifying appearance confirms it remains entirely unharmed. He questions his reasoning, pondering if it possesses resistance to light magic. Determined to escalate, he readies every elemental spell at his disposal. He conjures a swirling tempest of light, dark, and wind magic. The combined forces explode against the beast in a cataclysmic blast. Elia shields her face, commenting on his usual display of insane magic. As the dust settles, the Guard stands amidst the chaos. A grim realization hits him as he assesses the battle's result. The monster remains upright, seemingly impervious to all magic. From a safe distance, Elia expresses her shock at the unfolding events. She marvels at how it's completely unscathed after such powerful magic. The Guard erects another hexagonal barrier to block yet another fierce swing. He assesses the situation, his mind racing for a fresh strategy. He concludes that any direct magical assault is utterly futile against it. A new idea ignites as he considers the potential of physical damage magic. He places his hand over a glowing magic circle etched into the ground. The entire cavern begins to tremble violently around them. The rocky floor shakes with the force of his newly conjured spell. The stone walls of the dungeon start to shift and morph. The monster watches, startled by the sudden change in its surroundings. He unleashes the spell, ensnaring the formidable beast. Massive stone spikes erupt from the walls, impaling the monstrous foe. Elia stammers, utterly speechless at the overwhelming display of might. He explains that it's a top-tier spell designed to impale its target. His explanation trails off, sensing the battle is far from over. With a surge of raw energy, the monster shatters its stone confinement. It breaks free from the spikes, appearing unscathed once more. Elia watches, her expression filled with renewed worry and surprise. She points out that, unlike before, the creature now shows signs of injury. The monster's chest and shoulder now bear distinct dark gashes. A dark, viscous fluid oozes from the fresh wounds it has sustained. The guard's expression brightens as a new strategy takes shape. He understands it's just a matter of insufficient firepower. He concludes that its body is likely as tough as steel. He knows there are stronger physical spells, yet hesitates to cast them. He fears that a more potent spell could obliterate the entire dungeon. Instead, he opts for a different, more straightforward approach. He casts a spell, creating a portal to his dimensional storage. His hand dives past books and various artifacts within. He gets ready to grab an item while fending off another fierce attack, his fingers wrapped tightly around the hilt of a familiar weapon. He pulls out a simple yet elegant longsword from the glowing portal. He holds the blade, his face now set with grim resolve. Elia watches, her face a mix of surprise and concern. She questions his skills with a sword, and he admits he's a novice. He confidently states he'll depend on momentum and sheer strength. Ilya remains skeptical, her face showing doubt and worry. Inside, he acknowledges he's not fully confident in his plan. The hulking demon roars, eager for close combat. The demon's massive polearm crashes down with overwhelming force. Guard counters with his own sword, a flash of silver steel. The blade strikes the demon's hide but barely makes an impact. He is sent staggering back by the creature's immense strength. He fights to keep his balance against the monster's unyielding assault. A hexagonal barrier appears, absorbing most of the physical blow. Guard shields his face from debris, sensing a new hidden danger. A massive energy blast erupts from his side, catching him off guard. The powerful explosion sends him flying off his feet. He realizes the attack originated from the monster's deadly prongtail. He raises a hand, bracing for the monster's next clever move. A look of sudden understanding crosses his focused face. He realizes the demon's true attack comes from a blind spot. The tail lashes through the air in a rapid, devastating arc. He desperately blocks the strike, the impact bursting with brilliant light. The demon puts all its weight behind the powerful swing. Elia watches in horror, her mouth agape in shock and fear. She screams his name as a shockwave radiates from the impact. Guard is hurled violently through the air by the explosive force. He grits his teeth, using a spell to steer his trajectory. Elia gasps as a sudden brilliant realization hits her. She realizes he's using the momentum to teleport above the foe. He enhances his strength with magic, readying for a decisive strike. He descends upon the demon, sword poised to strike from above. His blade slices down, cleaving the massive monster in two. Guard lands gracefully, executing his attack with flawless precision. The demon's severed head reveals a fatal glowing cut from his blade. In the aftermath, the fallen demon dissolves as a winged creature praises Guard's incredible feat. Guard stands solemnly, his hand resting on the pommel of his elegant sword. A close-up shows his eye, wide with dawning and terrible realization. He points a shaking finger at the remains, asking Elias Sensei about their true nature. The dissolving mass unveils a horrifying truth. It's a fusion of countless human bodies. Elia gapes in disbelief, her face drained of color as she confronts the horrific scene. A close-up of her lips reveals her struggle to articulate a response. Trembling, she murmurs that she can't even begin to fathom the dark truth. A human hand gripping prayer beads indicates the creature was formed from many lives. Ilya wonders what kind of person could so carelessly disregard life. Turning away, the guard whispers that this disaster is on him. He regrets not realizing sooner. Perhaps he could have saved them. Elliot places a reassuring hand on his shoulder, asserting he isn't at fault. Taking the blame, she reminds him that she ordered the assault. She asserts firmly that a child like him, shouldn't bear such a weight. Guard watches with a heavy heart as his mentor takes control of the dire situation. Using her magical pouch, she vows that the victims will receive a dignified burial. She urges him to focus. They need to move on quickly. The grotesque severed tail of the beast is shown being carefully gathered. They find themselves in a barren cave filled with crystals and another monster's remains. Elion Guards examines the quiet, haunting chamber, both weary and grim. He observes they've reached the lowest level, surrounded by skulls and an empty throne. Guard sadly notes that, regrettably, there seem to be no survivors. A heap of human skulls at the throne's base underscores his grim conclusion. Ella quietly acknowledges their failure to locate anyone. She points out that even the master of this domain seems to have vanished. Noticing something in the debris, Ilya begins to search for potential clues. She uncovers a large, shattered stone coffin and wonders what it signifies. Turning to Guard, she inquires about his thoughts on the peculiar object. Ilya waits for his response, her face reflecting genuine curiosity. As Guard touches the coffin, his eyes widen in sheer shock. His hand rests on a familiar symbol, an intricate cross with a circular motif. The coffin's emblem sparks a vivid and powerful memory. He recalls a solemn funeral from long ago featuring an identical coffin. In the memory, a cloaked figure opens the coffin beneath a starry sky. Inside rests the serene face of a young woman with flowing dark hair. The memory shows the coffin lid being closed over her still form. Back in the present, Guard's eyes reflect a grim, certain realization. He turns to a bewildered Ilya, declaring he knows who the murderer is. A bead of sweat trickles down his face as he prepares to disclose the truth. He reveals the killer's name, Rose Madder, as a flashback shows her in white robes. Guard explains she was a mage who existed 600 years ago. Standing by the vacant tomb, he reiterates his unbelievable claim about the killer. Ella is left speechless, grappling with the notion that Guard knows this ancient mage. She questions how he could possibly know someone from 6 centuries past. Guard looks down, weighed down by the monumental secret he must now share. With a nervous chuckle, Ilya attempts to ease the sudden tension. She asks if he's still fixated on her earlier wild guess about the killer. Guard firmly dismisses her attempt to lighten the mood, insisting it wasn't a guess. He locks eyes with her, asserting that there is solid evidence. Guard's face reveals a painful resolve as he prepares to unveil his secret. Ilya watches with concern, sensing the weight of the moment. She asks him to clarify, encouraging him to explain his certainty. His gaze remains steady and resolute. His decision is made. He knows that to be believed, he must reveal everything. He places his hand on the ancient coffin, ready to reveal the truth to her. He drops the bombshell that he hails from 600 years in the past. Ilya is completely taken aback, letting out a soft sound of disbelief. A bead of sweat rolls down the guard's face as he continues his tale. He shares that he created a spell called reincarnation to be reborn in this time. He realizes how unbelievable his incredible story must seem to her. Ilya quickly pieces it together, asking if he knew Rose Madder. She is thoroughly impressed by the idea, requesting he teach her the spell later. The guard is left speechless by her eager acceptance of his narrative. He stutters, admitting he didn't expect her to accept his story so readily. With a teasing smile, she concedes that the tale is quite far-fetched. She explains that his outrageous power makes the impossible feel oddly believable. Now fully engaged, she asks him to reveal who this Rose Madder really is. The guard's demeanor shifts as he begins to recount their troubled history. A flashback reveals a group of cloaked figures as he mentions Rose Madder was a peer. He remembers her as someone who shared his official duties and responsibilities. In his recollection, they delve into resurrection magic through ancient texts. A close-up of Rose Madder's face from the past shows her focused on their studies. The sage, his past self, is seen from behind, equally engrossed in his research. He recalls how she discovered his secret studies and pleaded to join him. The image of his sister's smiling face flashes through his thoughts. He sensed that Rose Madder also had someone she yearned to resurrect. This shared longing made it impossible for him to turn her away. He remembers her keen intuition, which accelerated their research significantly. However, a dark and unsettling transformation began to manifest within her. Under a foreboding sky, he explains how her intentions twisted and became corrupt. In the flashback, he confronts her, questioning her true motives for resurrection magic. The sage and Rose Madder face each other in their shared study. With a calm smile, she asks if the answer isn't glaringly obvious. The sage nods, anticipating an answer akin to his own noble intentions. Rose Madder unveils her true ambition to exploit human lives as resources. The sage's form is depicted frozen in a state of utter disbelief. A close-up on the back of his head highlights his silent, deep horror. He can only manage a quiet "what" in response to her shocking revelation. She dreams of conjuring imaginary beings and mass-producing magic crystals. She starts outlining the hurdles that obstruct her grand ambitions. She dismisses ethics and laws, labeling them as mere excuses to hinder research. Standing together, she continues her immoral tirade alongside the sage. Her eyes shine with a fanatical light as she declares her intolerance for such things. She insists that emotional reasoning only stifles the advancement of magic. A close-up reveals the rigid geometric shapes of the sage's headpiece. Another close-up focuses on the sharp, folded edges of his ornate hood. Rose Madder leans in close to the sage, her expression intense and conspiratorial. She argues that with resurrection magic, no one will be able to obstruct them. She coldly states that once a life ends, it becomes mere trash to be reused. Rose Madder's shadowy visage questions the sage if he shares her twisted beliefs. Gar's narration vehemently rejects her assertion, expressing his disgust for her deteriorating ideology. The tale recounts how she began desecrating graves, using countless corpses for her research. As a guardian of order, the sage knew he couldn't allow her actions to persist. He resolved to confine her in isolation, prohibiting her from any magic research. In a flashback, guards escort a struggling Rose Madder through a stone corridor. She glances back, venomously accusing the sage of obstructing her path like everyone else. The guard remembers the unforgettable, seething hatred he witnessed in her eyes that fateful day. Shortly after her imprisonment, a somber funeral took place for Rose Madder. The guard speculates she may have already reincarnated at the moment of her demise. He explains that their research birthed reincarnation magic, making her return plausible. Elia absorbs his incredible tale, her expression somber and filled with empathy. She inquires if he possesses any further evidence that Rose Madder is alive today. He highlights the ornate emblem on the coffin, matching her ancient funeral customs. Holding a document, he asserts the handwriting is unmistakably hers from 6 centuries ago. Elia grasps the likelihood of his theory, a tear slipping down her cheek. The guard believes the modern Rose Madder has sunk deeper, now hunting the living. His expression hardens with determination as he vows not to let her roam free. Elia meets his gaze with equal resolve, fully agreeing with his assessment. They pledge to halt her atrocities, her ancient malice now closing in on them. Before exiting the dungeon, Elia and the guard prepare to seal the perilous area. A shimmering hexagonal barrier forms, blocking entry and teleportation into the dungeon. The guard decides to add another layer to Elia's slight confusion about her barrier's reliability. With a gentle smile, the guard begins to clarify his reasoning for the redundancy. Elia acknowledges that his concerns about her barrier's strength were part of her thoughts. He explains that a breached barrier immediately alerts its caster to the disruption. By incorporating a second layer, they can both detect a breach and react swiftly. L.A. Laugh admires the wisdom of someone who has experienced a second life. With their tasks complete, she suggests they return, and the guard expresses his gratitude. He requests that she stay longer to review Rose Madder's documents for their report. A sinister, elf-like woman watches their departure through an image in her glass. She sits at a table in a restaurant with a nervous-looking blonde man. A knowing, confident smirk dances on her lips as she observes the duo. She reflects that her creation, Rose Madder, was foolish to confront a sage directly. Aware that the guard now knows of her, she doubts he will leave her be. She shifts her focus to her companion Lotto, who flinches under her stare. Reaching into a pouch, she prepares to assign him a new sinister task. She instructs him to handle a small job crafting an ornate potion bottle. The scene transitions to the Grand Remillion Magic Academy beneath a bright sky. The sprawling castle-like institution stands as a beacon of magical education and power. Inside a classroom, a lecture unfolds under a sign for Class A. Students sit at their desks, seemingly focused on the teacher at the front. The guard, however, is lost in thought, staring blankly at his desk. His mind is consumed with anxiety over the Rose Madder incident and Isla's report. He wonders if it's truly acceptable for him to attend class as usual. His friend Sasha casts a concerned glance his way, noticing his troubled demeanor. A bead of sweat trickles down her temple, revealing her genuine worry for him. As the professor dismisses the class, she holds a book and announces it's over. She reminds the students to review the lesson material as they begin to exit. Just as Guard is about to leave, Professor Alea calls out his name. She requests that he come to her lab for a moment, her expression serious. Guard looks up, his own expression grave, a bead of sweat on his brow. He consents to her request, passing by Sasha's desk as she watches him depart. Sasha's worried gaze follows him, her intuition sensing something is amiss. Guard exits the classroom, returning to his concerned friend. Yuri dashes to Sasha, trying to catch her attention as she gazes into the distance. Sasha inquires if Yuri also noticed the guards acting strangely today. She elaborates that one guard appeared restless and uneasy, unlike his usual demeanor. Yuri's pigtails bounce as a light-hearted idea strikes her. She quips that maybe he just really needed to find a restroom. Sasha, unimpressed, grabs Yuri's face in annoyance at the ridiculous notion. Yuri, however, argues that the guard seemed completely fine to her. She suggests to Sasha that perhaps she's overanalyzing the whole thing. Sasha falls quiet, acknowledging it might be true, but her worried look stays. Yuri's playful demeanor shifts to one of resolve as she notices her friend's distress. A bead of sweat trickles down Sasha's face, revealing her deep-seated anxiety. Yuri leans closer, a new plan forming in her mind, proposing a bold move. She boldly states that if they're so curious, they should just investigate themselves. The two girls stealthily approach Ilya's lab door, pressing their ears against it. They listen closely as Aliya's voice instructs the guard to take a seat. Ilya explains that she reported on the investigation, revealing Rosemader's return in Killingsbury. She reassures the guards that she omitted his name to keep him safe. The guard asks what the Academy plans to do about this serious threat. His face is serious and intent, waiting for vital information from his mentor. Aliya bluntly tells him that the Academy is essentially doing nothing, leaving him stunned. The guard looks puzzled by her words, a drop of sweat forming on his forehead. He asks her to clarify what she means by essentially nothing. She reveals that the headmaster merely erected a barrier, confident it suffices. The guard slumps in his chair, disappointment washing over him at their inaction. Ella explains she did her utmost to convey the threat Rose Matter poses. However, the faculty, being the most powerful mages, feel no real danger, dismissing her warnings. She admits she can't fault them since they haven't witnessed his true power. The guard listens quietly, his profile revealing his growing frustration with the situation. Outside, the two girls eavesdropping are filled with horror and disbelief. They overhear how the faculty simply offloaded the entire issue onto Aliya. Aliya laments her inability to secure their support, a tear of frustration glistening in her eye. She concludes that for the time being, it will just be the two of them tackling it. Her sentence is abruptly interrupted by a loud sneeze from the guard, startling everyone. Outside, Yuri and Sasha gasp in shock, realizing they've been caught. Ilya dryly comments that they might have two more joining their cause. In an instant, her long scarf springs to life, lunging toward the door. The scarf swiftly wraps around the doorknob with remarkable speed and accuracy. The two girls are completely taken aback by the sudden, forceful attack. They cry out in confusion as the scarf yanks the door wide open. A loud "whoa" echoes as they are yanked violently into the room. They crash into a disheveled pile on the floor, their spine exposed. Guard and Aliya look down at them, both slightly exasperated by the interruption. Yuri, on her hands and knees, manages a nervous, sheepish laugh of apology. Sasha, still face down on the floor, emits a pained, embarrassed chuckle. Aliya surveys the scene and dryly notes that it appears they've been discovered. A vertical panel reveals the elaborate book-lined wall of a grand study. Kneeling on the floor, Yuri and Sasha offer a sincere apology to the guard. Guard, looking taken aback, asks why they were specifically worried about him. Sasha confirms their genuine concern, her face still etched with worry. She explains that he seemed different, which prompted them to check on him. The young man with dark hair listens intently, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. The red-haired woman inquires about how much the two girls overheard. Yuri confesses they only caught snippets of the discussion through the door. She mentions hearing a name, Rose Matter, and a revived witch. The woman tightens her fist, her face serious and visibly troubled. Yuri insists that something ominous is unfolding and offers help for her and Sasha. She steps forward, emphasizing their eagerness to assist in any capacity. Sasha watches with a determined yet slightly anxious look. Yuri's eyes blaze with intensity, her determination to help unmistakable. The woman expresses her desire to keep students out of this situation. She explains her hope for them to focus on their studies, steering clear of panic. Yuri forcefully highlights the hypocrisy, pointing out that Guard is also a student. Her valid argument leaves the woman flustered and unsure. She hands the decision to Guard, valuing his unique insight into the threat. Guard looks down, weighing the tough choice he faces. He agrees that he opposes putting them in perilous situations or forcing them to fight. Sasha appears hurt by his remarks, her expression somber and downcast. Yuri's face contorts in a scowl, her pride clearly stung by his judgment. He bluntly declares that none of them, excluding himself, could confront the witch. However, he clarifies that he would gladly accept their assistance with other tasks. He explains the necessity of preparing for the worst, given the witch's unpredictable tactics. Guard formally asks the two of them to lend him their support. The woman and the guards face each other, a silent understanding passing between them. She questions if the witch is truly that fearsome, even for someone of his caliber. Guard confirms her concerns with a simple yes, stressing the need for readiness. The woman's demeanor shifts, finally accepting their involvement. She formally requests Yuri and Sasha's strength, and they eagerly agree. With the team assembled, she asks Guard what tasks await them. Guard strokes his chin, a strategic expression crossing his face as he ponders. The Grand Academy stands proud under the bright daylight. The scene transitions to the same academy, now beneath a starry night. Later, Yuri and Sasha embrace, worn out yet satisfied with their efforts. Guard walks past them as Yuri wonders if Sasha will be all right. Sasha declares with bright-eyed determination that she will give her all. She cheerfully states that she's just happy to help someone. Yuri leans in with a playful grin, claiming she knows Sasha's true intent. She teasingly asks if Sasha is thrilled to assist Guard. A flustered Sasha playfully grabs Yuri to hush her. She tells her friend to refrain from saying such awkward and embarrassing things. Guard observes their playful banter with a small, amused smile. Still holding Yuri back, Sasha sincerely thanks Guard. He reflects on never having friends who treated him as an equal. A warm, genuine smile spreads across his face as he recognizes his good fortune. His friends look back at him, seemingly moved by his quiet appreciation. They both call out his name, their expressions softening with affection. Yuri begins to tease again, suggesting Sasha wants something more than friendship. Sasha quickly covers Yuri's mouth, muffling her teasing. She jokes that she must seal Yuri's lips before they confront the witch. Finally, she releases Yuri, who gasps for breath. The light-hearted moment fades as Yuri notices Guard's expression has shifted. She inquires how he became aware of the revived rose matter. A close-up reveals the guard's eye, his demeanor shifting to serious and cautious. Sasha points out that meeting someone from that long ago is impossible. She mentions that Rose Matter's name doesn't even appear in their history books. Confronted by their probing questions, the guard remains silent, deep in thought. Caught between his two companions, he weighs his next words carefully. He shuts his eyes briefly, grappling with a tough choice. With clenched fists, he resolves to share the truth. The guard turns to them, prepared to disclose his past. Yuri and Sasha observe, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. He opens his mouth, ready to start his significant confession. Abruptly, a vision of a shattering barrier interrupts his confession. His eyes widen in terror as he realizes the dungeon barrier has collapsed. A powerful spell surges around him, shocking his friends. He urgently states that Rose Matter may have just shown up. Panic floods his face as he insists he must leave immediately. Sasha and Yuri watch, their faces reflecting shock and concern. The guard's panic fades momentarily, replaced by a look of confidence. Sasha gently taps his shoulder, assuring him everything will be fine. He rests his hands on their shoulders, vowing he will return. His friends gaze at him, a blend of fear and trust in their eyes. Their expressions soften slightly, reassured by his confident promise. They call out, urging him to hurry back. He agrees, saying they can resume their conversation upon his return. With a final determined, "I'm off," he gets ready to teleport. A brilliant flash of light and energy marks his magical exit. The guard appears in a shadowy forest, standing before a cave entrance. Sweat glistens on his face, his expression one of utter shock. He confirms his fears. The barrier has indeed been breached. The woman teleports in behind him, apologizing for her slight delay. The guards remain focused on the cave, where Rose Matter might be. He observes that there are no signs of her presence nearby. He gestures toward the cave's dark entrance, sensing nothing. The woman watches, her expression tense as she evaluates the situation. A desperate cry for help suddenly resonates from deep within the woods. They spot a young man with blonde hair, frantically running through the brush. The guard stares at the frightened boy, concern etched on his face. The young man's eyes are wide with fear, his face slick with sweat. He halts, panting heavily, and recognizes the person in front of him. With a troubled look, the guard acknowledges his former rival Lotto. The battle rages on, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Each side fights fiercely, determined to claim victory.